I was about to tell you to get Craig in here. Don't edit that out. Hey, everyone. This is critical. I almost said the old tagline for the show, but it's not the history of pro wrestling video games
Not
anymore.
anymore.
It's just two dumb motherfuckers talking about shit that they like.
Yeah, that's the
That's a
subtitle
way
now.
better tagline. Yeah, I was going to say it's a way better subtitle than we had before. I'm Mongo, joined as always by my co-host Liger Busa. My voice, at least in my brain with my ears, sounds like worse than it did last week. I hope I'm not getting sick again. But how have you been since we last spoke? Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week.
I've been waiting for this question, and I've in my head I've gone like in a rant on a rant talking about like all the shit that's happened since the start of the year and how like absolute bullshit it's been. Which maybe puts an idea of the state of my mind right now. I'm not great. Um, I talked to you about this, but last week my mom had a stroke. Um, Thankfully, she's okay. But that was scary. It was me and my nephew were in the living room, and she was in the kitchen, and she was trying to read instructions, and she's just like, I don't understand this. I don't understand it. And she thought she was reading the French side, so she turned it over to English, and she still couldn't read it. And my dad went into the kitchen, and he's like, it says 14 minutes, and she's just like, I don't understand. I can't understand it. And I was like, what's going on? And then she just sort of snapped out of it. And I think she said, I think I had a stroke, but like I had no idea. Like I didn't know like stroke was just something like you would just snap out of like that. So I was just like, maybe it's just like something minor. Like I don't know what it was. And I said, well, you're gonna have to call the doctor. I didn't even think about like going to the hospital at the time because like I said, I because she was fine, I was like, maybe it's just a minor thing. Um, so she called the doctor the next day. Actually, so the next day I wake up at like 9 in the morning. She's cleaning all the floors because that's what she does, right? She just doesn't stop. And she called the doctor, and he was like, "You should go to the hospital." So she went to the hospital, and the department that she went to, the doctor that was supposed to see, she was just leaving, and she's like, "I get the woman at the counter was like, I can ask and see if she'll see you," and I guess she wouldn't because they were basically like, come back on Monday. So she went Monday morning. I woke up and realized that the couch and love seat were in different positions, like switched, and apparently she had moved them at like 6 in the morning. Like again, this is the type of things that she does, right? She just doesn't stop. She's got to be doing something. There's an episode of The Simpsons, the one where Homer works for Hank Scorpio, and
Yeah,
like the house does everything so Marge turns into an alcoholic. I keep telling her like if we had a house like that, that's what would happen to her because she just has to do something all the time. So she went to the hospital on Monday. She has to take my dad to the hospital on Mondays anyway, so she went in just after she dropped him off, and she was there from like 7:45 to like 1:45 or something like that. Just a lot of time just waiting. But they did some tests and stuff, and basically she just has to continue taking medication for blood pressure, and she's gonna get like this thing to monitor for changes. Has to make sure she takes a blood uh you know uh test for blood pressure, and make sure it's there's no abnormalities or major changes or anything like that. But yeah, it's just funny because like after it happened, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna read things about strokes all week because that's how things happen for whatever reason. Like when my dad had skin cancer and he's okay now, but the next day somebody mentioned like cancer to me and sarcastically said, "No, you can't help me unless you have a cure for cancer." And I was like, Jesus Christ, how like what a coincidence! How could this happen? So I was like, I'm just gonna see this all week, and then I saw like a politician was like stuttering and I'd stopped, and people were like, "Oh, he's had a stroke." And then Gina Darling, who was a host on G4, I guess her dad had a stroke too, and sounded pretty serious. But yeah, she's doing fine. Um, it's obviously really good, but like, if you think about all the stuff that I've talked about since January, like COVID and the issues I've had, and some other stuff that's happened, it hasn't been fun times, but you know, at least we get to do the show, and I get to talk about my interests and stuff, so that helps anyway.
I'm glad to hear she's all right. Like I told you, my mom had a mini stroke in late '09. I want to say because it all ties back to wrestling. It was the week of the. Do you remember the TNA pay per view that year? It was like right after they announced Hogan came in, and then they had like the best pay per view they'd ever done. And it
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
wow, they don't really need Hogan. It was the what the fuck was the November? It was Joe, AJ, and Turning Point. It was the Unbreakable three way, but for the heavyweight title.
right.
Um, that Thursday, I woke up and mom had to go to work, but I look outside and our car is there. So I'm like, oh, that's fucking weird. So I walk into my mom's room. I don't see her. I check the floor just in case, because mom's a little bit older. She might have fallen. I open the fucking in. I opened the fucking the closet just in case mom was like, doing some shit in there and she called off work. She's not there. I check the garage. I couldn't fucking see, like she was nowhere to be found. And then there's a knock on the door and it was like my landlord's wife and she's like, "Hey, I went to the grocery store and bought you a bunch of food." And it's at that time I noticed our phones have a fucking a voicemail. So I checked the
Mm.
voicemail and it's from, like, I know the number for the hospital, right? And I'm like, "What the fuck?" And it's my mom going, "Hey, they're admitting me." She didn't tell me anything. And then when my landlord's wife or girlfriend or wherever she is showed up, she's like, "Yeah, your mom's in the hospital. She had a mini stroke. They're gonna keep her overnight." I was just like, "What the fuck?" And my aunt and uncle, who lived right across the river in Sarnia, Ontario, for any of you that are familiar with, I guess Southern Ontario, um, they called me on the phone. This is like just happenstance, right? And they're like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, fucked up, buddy." And they're like, "Why? What's going on?" And I'm like, "Mom's in the hospital. Might have had a mini stroke. Might have had a full stroke. We don't fucking know." And they were just like, "Oh shit. Okay, we'll be there. We'll bring you some food. We'll be there." Because like when I was told like they might keep her overnight, she was like they might keep her the whole weekend. And I was like, okay, so like me here by myself for 3 days, I got a George Foreman grill and a microwave. I'm gonna need something that's compatible with one or both of those things. It's like my aunt and uncle came down from Canada and they brought a ton of food. So like when we saw my mom at the hospital the next day, I jokingly was just like, "Hey mom, you're not gonna have to go grocery shopping for like 3 weeks." Because when I tell you, like, our landlord's wife bought, and this is 2009 money, but when I tell you she bought like $200 worth of shit, I'm talking like we had like meat, we had like those vegetable deli trays with like the cheeses and shit on them. Like they hooked us the
Yeah.
fuck up and never asked for anything in return, which we should all have landlords like that in life. Um, and then they came down and it's like, here's a fucking moose roast, here's like a bunch of other shit. I was like, we're fucking set. fuck this grocery store shit. Fuck going to Sonic for a double. I got food here. But it was scary. And then
Yeah.
like literally the next day, they let her out and she was like, "I feel perfectly normal now." And I was like, "Oh, that's good." But apparently, like when they took her to the hospital, they gave my mom morphine.
Oh.
And she was adamant she was like floating off of the gurney. And mom shaking her head and laughing as I walked through the house telling the story. Um, and that's like the one thing she remembers from that. That was like she didn't feel well and she stopped over at the landlord's, and the next thing she knew she was floating at the hospital. But she's been fine ever since. Like
Yeah.
I think she had like a couple of follow up appointments and everything checked out and looked normal. And she's still got her wits about her, still got her right mind mostly. Um, and she's doing all right. So I'm, fingers crossed that never happens again. And also fingers crossed your mom continues to not have that issue ever again because it's scary.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like when she first was like saying, I don't understand. I thought it was just like her eyes acting up or something because she does have, problems with her eyesight and stuff, and I was just like, oh, she just can't read it or whatever. And then she just kept talking about it, and then she couldn't really talk, and I was like, okay, like what is going on? And then just suddenly just snapped back into it, and I was like, well, like what was that? Like Yeah, it was a scary situation, and yeah, hopefully she doesn't have to deal with anything like that again, for sure. That's a depressing
On
start to the show, though.
I was going to say, on a more lighthearted note, I had a long weekend. Somebody doing schedules decided to bless me with Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off, which is a rib because I know how bad Tuesday is going to be, but that's okay.
Oh, I know what you
Um,
mean.
like, so it iced really badly Thursday into Friday morning, and mom was like, "Well, we got to go get some food," and I'm like, "Look at the parking lot. It's fucking 6 a.m. and it's shiny. Like this, that's ice." So I took my shower and we had like very little salt, like the salt you put on like the sidewalk or whatever. And
Yeah.
I was able to get enough of a path for mom to get in the car. And I went to the grocery store and the first thing I did was I grabbed 2 5-pound bags of salt, like one in each hand. And I just chucked them on the underside of the cart. And when we got back to the house, I was like, okay, pull up to where you're going to park the fucking car. And I literally ripped one of the bags open and just poured a path as best I could with the first bag. And then I went back to the car, grabbed the second bag, and poured the path for mom. And I was like, that was like $7 and 10 pounds of salt, and I still didn't come close to getting everything where it needed to be. Now it's snowing. It looks like fucking the WWF locker room in the '80s exploded. There's just so much white shit all over the place.
We're supposed to get like 10 centimeters today, so that's fun.
Oh yeah, it's not gonna be that bad here.
Yeah.
It's very funny because I hate long winters because I can't stand the cold. I've lived in the
Yeah,
Midwest
same.
my whole life. I'm just at the point where I'm like, fuck it. I mean, it gets colder for you guys because
Oh,
further north.
well, also we live in a house that is very, very old, and like the windows are like, when I don't know if it's the same for you, but when I was in school, they used to have like these brown windows, and they looked very old, and like they were like very heavy and shit. And that's what we've got, but like because they're so old now, they don't like shut properly and stuff. So
Mm,
it freezes up really bad, and like the back of your hands when I'm working and stuff, the back of my hand gets like all flaky
dry.
uh and like bloody in some cases. My poor cat was walking around last night, and I felt him, and he was freezing. So he's
Ugh.
he's lying on the couch right now, and they've covered him in blankets and stuff. So he's happy.
Like my thing was always, yeah, okay, if it stays cold longer, there's more snow. It takes the ground longer to heat up. That prolongs and possibly lessens the severity of like tornado season. Because again, I live in Ohio, and we didn't really have that many in my life in my area at least. And then in 2017 we had like a big one, and then in 2019 there was like the one that famously fucked up Hera Arena and a whole bunch of other stuff across the state.
Yeah.
So climate change isn't real. My ass. When
Yeah.
when there are, and we've been missed the last times there have been like major tornado events anywhere around us, but they're far more frequent now than they ever were. Like when you saw that little tornado graphic pop up on the screen on the Lyman News, that was a big goddamn deal because that meant shit was getting real.
Yeah.
That was also 30 years ago. They just put up the little crawl at the bottom now, which is fucking lame. Give me the little tornado graphic, please. But now it's like once the spring starts, it's like fucking once a week there's a tornado warning.
Jesus Christ.
And of course, not to get super political, but the dumb fucks that want to dismantle the National Weather Service are going to make it so that we don't know when this shit is coming.
Smart
And
move.
yeah, just fucking
Surprise.
yeah. What a shock! The people, the fucking snakes, fucking drained the venom, and now you're mad because you know what they fucking are. I still see people defending the current administration, and it's like, buddy, you can take a long walk off a short pier. We need less people to think what's going on right now is acceptable, if I could just be perfectly honest. But
Mhm.
we do talk about video games occasionally on this podcast. So we'll talk
Yes.
about All Japan Women Pro Wrestling for the PlayStation. Launched in July of 1998, 2 days after my 7th birthday, which means it came out the same month as Warzone. And I think Warzone's a better game. More on that in a minute.
Ooh. Okay.
This game was developed, and I didn't know this until this morning, by the team that made the Pro Wrestling Sengokuden games for the PlayStation, which I've never played. But their other wrestling game I have played, which is Pocket Pro Wrestling Perfect Wrestler for the Game Boy Color. That game is incredible. This
Yeah,
game, not so much.
I have one of the pro wrestling. What is it again? Sorry, I'm gonna mispronounce it.
Sengoku.
Right, I have one of those for the PlayStation. I got it like years ago, and it's heavy text based, so I could never really get into it too much.
Does Fire Profane have a fact for those games? No, he doesn't. Okay,
No,
fine.
no, yeah.
What's crazy is this game, the All Japan Women's game, came out a month after the second Pro Wrestling Sengoku game.
Oh wow,
And
yeah, they were working.
looking at the box art, it looks like there might have been a wrestler edit mode in that game. Looks like there might have been some more interesting stuff going on in that game.
It's very like it's a simulation, right? Like you simulate matches and set up like promotions and stuff like that. It's but yeah, unless you have like a full translation, you're not going to get anywhere with it. It's one of those games that I wish someone would just like do like a full on translation for it and release the ROM or something, because it's like you remember that PC game I mentioned a while back that was like
Yes.
I think it's similar to that in a way. And yeah, I mean I would love to explore it and find out what's going on with it, but kind of impossible. I mean, unless you were put like Google Translate up on your phone and like go through it that way or something, I guess.
For this game, I'll give you the roster first. Yumiko Hata, Manami Toyota, Takako Inoue, Kaoru Ito, Tomoko Watanabe, Kumiko Maikawa, Aisha Kon, Kyoko Inoue, Mima Shimoda, Itsuko Mita, Chaparita Asari, Rie Tamada, Yumi Fukawa, and apparently Akira Hokuto is a hidden character in this game. I don't know how to unlock her. I played a few exhibition matches in this game because, spoiler alert, it's singles matches or the beat everybody win the title mode. There's no content here.
Yeah. From what I understand, you get her by beating the title mode. So I was going through it, but I was getting frustrated with it because like you start off number 12 rank and you have to have like a bunch of matches. And I had a bunch of I mean, they're all singles matches. And I had won a bunch, but it wasn't until, after a few matches where I actually went up to 11. And it was very slowly going up. And I was having matches against the same women 2 or 3 times. And I was like, okay, like this is enough considering how long it's going to take me to get to number one. And I'm having these same matches over and over. I didn't want to do it anymore.
And one of the problems with a mode like that is if the gameplay is not terribly exciting, it becomes a bit of a drag.
Very
And
tedious. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. The best thing this game has going for it is the presentation. You get the FMV entrance clips with midis of the theme songs before Thunder did it.
Yep.
So Dream Japan might have been on that Inland shit before Inland were fully on it. The introductions are great. The entrance or the introduction poses are all pretty accurate to what I remember. And the graphics look great. The character models are very nicely textured. They look exactly like who they are. The arena looks better than a lot of 3D wrestling games on the PlayStation, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And we've all said it for years. Even if you've never played it, you've likely seen gameplay footage. This game has maybe the most beautiful animations ever in a wrestling game. Like, there are so many frames of animation for each move. It looks like they somehow figured out how to just rip clips of like actual matches and put them into a video game. It's crazy.
Yeah. Incredible, like incredibly accurate, detailed. It blows my mind every time I see this. And I remember posting about it. People are like, wait, when was this game made? 1998? Like, how was that possible?
Yeah, it's so weird because I feel like you don't hear a lot of people talk about Joshi after like the mid '90s,
Yeah.
unless they're like the really hardcore fans, and then those are the people you want the recommendations from, but you also don't want to see their photo book collection in a lot of instances. I think. With the animations, though, comes one very big drawback, and it's that the gameplay is very slow.
Hmm.
There is a delay between button press and action, It takes forever for the game to register that you press circle to grapple, so
Yeah.
spend a lot of time throwing strikes that the AI will just psychically avoid. Uh, Trying a running attack in this game is like trying a running attack in Tokon Redstone 3. Good fucking luck.
Yeah,
Collision
I
detection is also a little weird.
one of the coolest things I had seen when I was playing it was that I was playing as Manami Toyota and I was Irish whipped against the rope and I pressed the um square button and I came back with like a sunset flip. You know how the way she does it, like she like goes over the top and then goes down and it looks so goddamn cool because it was like so smooth the way it was done. The animation, I thought
Yeah,
that was like yeah, when you can actually hit some like running attacks, they do look pretty damn cool.
yeah. And the problem is like the AI is not unfair, but good luck hitting them very
Yeah,
often. Um, there's groggy moves in the game, which for those of you who don't know, Sunny Bone did a tremendous video about Power Move Pro Wrestling, where he explains the concept and the phenomenon that were groggy moves. I have quoted that I can't do the stunner unless it's groggy like a million times in the last however many years um since Sunny Bone put that video up. But that's another reason I told you before we started. Like this game does feel kind of sort of like a bootleg Tokon Redstone. The crowd will start chanting intermittently, which feels like the rush feature from Tokon, where like you get a little burst of energy. Um,
right.
the groggy moves, the way the submissions animate the sliding across the ring looks more like how I remember it. Actually, it looks more like how I remember it in like WrestleMania X8 than anything else. Because I pinned someone like not necessarily middle of the ring, but like kind of the middle of the ring, and they damn near got to the ropes by the time the
Yeah.
kickout animation played. And I was like, "The fuck are we doing here? How does that make any
Yeah,
sense?"
I see what you mean, and I mean it makes sense, right? Like the Tokon games were the most successful games at the time. Was the third one out by this point?
Is Tokon 3 out by July '98? I say knowing full well that we covered that game. I think it was, yeah, it was March 26, '98. I was gonna say it was either March or June.
Okay, so yeah, I mean they had, you know, essentially three games to use as reference there. So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you can definitely see the influence of that, and yeah, I could see what they were going for. And unfortunately, it's not implemented, you know, as well as you would hope. As you said, like the I don't know. It's like when you press circle when they're not groggy, it seems like a massive delay. And then and then when they're groggy, it doesn't seem like there's much at all. It was really confusing for me to like time the grapples and stuff when there was such a delay with it. Uh
Yeah,
it yeah, very strange.
I will say in the pantheon of 1998 wrestling games, this is absolutely on the lower end. It's probably better. It is better than Nitro.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think it's better than Warzone. Warzone has way more shit to do. Even if I think the gameplay is a little bit frustrating, because why do I have to learn Mortal Kombat moves for everybody?
Um
Um,
I would put it above Warzone just because of the control scheme. As you said, like learning like the Mortal Kombat moves and stuff, like I don't want to do that at all. I don't want to have to you know, press start and then like look at the move list. Like I want something like this where maybe there's not a great amount of moves, but like I can press circle and you know uh
Eventually, something happens.
theoretically do something. Yes. I should mention too that they also have like a finisher meter, and
Yeah,
yeah, you press L2 and R2, and that triggers your opportunity to do a finisher. But like every move in the game can be a finisher basically. So if you're just doing a groggy and doing like let's say you have a power bomb out of a groggy, you can do that, and that's considered a finisher if you hold like L2 and R2 and circle or whatever, or down and circle, whatever it would be. So you don't have to use this like a specific move, but like obviously you can use like you know their proper finishers or whatever, but you don't have to use that. It's like anything that you have is considered it. If that
yeah.
makes
There's what's here is not tremendously exciting. I mean, if you're a Joshi fan, this is the one 3D Joshi game.
yeah.
unfortunately. Well, Rumble Roses, but that's not like a licensed
Hmm.
Joshi
Yeah.
Pro Wrest game.
Yeah, I do think, and we talked about this before we started, that if they were to continue, and especially if they got in the PS2 era where, you could, it's expected that you would have more features, at least like a tag match and like maybe a four-person battle royal or whatever, similar to like something like All Star, and All Star is another game that had crazy great animations. If they were able to continue, obviously additions to the roster, maybe have a male roster or whatever they would do at that point, and smooth out the grapples where there's no delay, and make a few other changes to the AI and stuff like that. I feel like, with those animations, if they could continue to provide stuff like that, they might have had something there. But unfortunately, this was the only game that they made. So
Yeah. Like I said, at that point you get into like the I really wish Mayhem 2 came out kind of fantasy
yeah,
booking. And I don't like doing that to myself anymore.
yeah, I get that.
Then I start thinking about Mayhem 2 and I can like envision like the 2000 Nitro set on my screen with like Aki models for like Sid and fucking 2000 Scott Steiner, and it's that shit gets real depressing real quick. We almost had Sid in an Aki game, man.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
actually getting those animation videos and stuff made it more depressing than it was before.
yeah, when those first hit Photo Bucket in like 2012 and they got posted either on Fire Pro Club or Axe Bomber, I was like, oh god damn. So it's not just a thing that was rumored. Like there was some actual fucking like development put into this before it got axed. Fuck me.
I think I think I found those just by like searching for WCW on Photo Bucket, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, because it's like some former devs like Photo Bucket where it's just like a bunch of shit that they worked on. Because
Yeah,
there's like motocross versus ATV stuff there too. I remember seeing and being like, huh, yeah. Yeah, you
can
you worked on some games, didn't you, buddy?
can someone put that guy in touch with the video game history museum? Like,
Oh Lord, yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh man. Uh well I guess we should talk video game news. Um WWE
oh,
2K25 roster reveal tomorrow. So in two
sorry,
weeks when we record again. Yep.
sorry, I just had one more thing that I was going to talk about. So,
My
this
bad.
this episode, no, I haven't said anything about this. So this episode is going to be on YouTube. So I'm putting up a YouTube channel. Just right before this video goes up. Oh, sorry, this episode goes up. Sorry. There will be a video with some All Japan women, some matches that I recorded, just CPC versus CPC. So if you've never played it, or if you've never seen it before, you can just get a feel of what the game is like. The YouTube link will be in the link tree for the podcast. So yeah, hello to anyone that's listening on YouTube.
Guys, it's been a couple
Obviously,
of years since we put one of these up on YouTube.
yeah, it's because on my old computer it was taking me so long to like convert any audio into videos for whatever reason. I was like, fuck this. I don't want to spend like 10 years doing all this shit. So for the new channel, I'm not gonna upload the previous episode. It'll just be like this episode and episodes going further forward. But if there's anyone listening to us for the first time, you can check out our Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon or apparently like the 1,000 podcast networks that we're on for our previous episodes and archive. So yeah, that's a fun thing, and hopefully I'll be putting some more stuff on that YouTube channel. I would like to put up some videos on oh god, what is that game? The Sleeping Dogs like game, Blood. God, I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, the demo's up on Steam, so I'd like to check that out and put up a video on that because I'd like to see that game get a lot more attention and some other stuff. So yeah, we're on YouTube. Yay.
Okay,
Anyway.
so that was the actual biggest announcement we're going to cover this week. Um, 2K25's roster gets revealed tomorrow, which as of this recording is Tyrant's Day in the United States, February
Mm.
17th. I do not give a shit. I'm so,
I
I don't, man. Like I was kind of sort of like, yeah, going to the Rumble, and then I got sick and didn't go to the Rumble, and then I saw the Linda McMahon confirmation thing, and I was just like, yeah, not buying that game. Go fuck yourselves.
I saw the trailer for the island that they released this
Oh,
week,
the state of play, yeah.
and
So that was everything I thought it was going to be, and then when you read the dev blog about like, oh, if you unlock or if you buy these things in the island, you can use them and create a wrestler mode. Welcome to the future, motherfuckers.
I I think that island should be nuked. I think they should do
Yeah,
some nuclear testing on that site and yeah, blow it out of the ocean. The It's funny because I saw people pointing out the like cutscenes in the island mode, and they're exactly the same as 2K20, where you have like they're text based and you have like a character model on screen. Like it's exactly the same as like all the shit they had in that game. And you know they're bringing a lot of like it seems like all the fantasy elements based on the arenas. Like there's like arena looks like a fucking dragon arena or something. There's arena like in the middle of a giant hole, like it's the Batcave or some shit. And it's just like it goes back to
Lionel
like
Jinx was going to get that shit back in the game somehow, man. I'm
it's
telling
like
you.
you know I think I've said it before. Like I wouldn't even mind like the Mad Max shit or something. It was if it was like in its own game and the game was good. But like it just feels so out of place here. And it's like again it comes back to like what do you want to be? Do you like want to be simulation or do you want to be really goofy and shit? Like I can never tell anymore. It seems like they want to be a mix of both and it just doesn't work.
They want to try to capture some of the energy of the old SmackDown games while still trying to jack off the people that thought that 2K19 was a good game.
Yeah, yeah, but even the old SmackDown games, it was like you could do some goofy shit in those, but like they didn't have fucking they had a
They didn't
goddamn
have the Dragon Arena from fucking Def Jam.
there was a monster in the last one. I can't even remember what she was called, but she was in like the My Rise, and you can play as her and when you do some fucking round of PC. I don't even remember what her name was, but like
How funny is it, by the way, that they didn't do intergender stuff in the game for years because WWE had the mandate that the games had to be representative of what you
yeah.
saw on TV. And then you look at like the fucking My Career in 2K20 where Samoa Joe apparently had an amputation and got like the fucking robot arm and shit.
Hmm. You mean that
Like,
didn't
yeah, that
happen
totally
in real
happened.
life?
And
Did
dude, that
did he
anybody
get
that fucking thought that My Career shit in 2K20 was cool, like Pulse, I like your channel, but calling that stuff freaking charming, I think he was the one that did it. Like, no, it wasn't, man. Wrestling fans need to be lobotomized if they think that shit's good. Come on.
Yeah,
Like
it was a mess.
2K20's My Career mocked wrestling fans in a way that felt super mean spirited, and there was no way to laugh along with it. At least when Ready to Rumble made fun of all of us, it was like, yeah, we're fucking silly. We like this shit. That game basically told you you're a fucking loser for liking this, and you're an even bigger loser for playing this game. And I saw wrestling fans acting like that was like the coolest shit ever. And it's like, so y'all will fucking lose your shit over something that you think is long term storytelling, but when something is that unsubtle, like right in your fucking face, you completely miss it. Makes perfect sense.
You know, if they had like its own game with that Mad Max stuff and you could have like races and shit. Like it was just like Mad Max of WWE. That might have been interesting.
Yeah,
Probably the most
well,
the
we
probably the most interesting stuff about thing about that game was like the Club La Vida style arena.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I'm sure somebody's made the effort to port that and make it a Nitro arena, and if they haven't, they should.
Oh, B4G has just uploaded a mod of Club La Vida on PC, and some people have done like their version on the PS4 and stuff with like textures and stuff, or PS5. That actually looks pretty cool. So yeah, that stuff's out there.
Well, there you go. And here's my thing: like the reason we can't get a game that's self-contained with all the original stuff is mid-budget games don't exist anymore. If you're a major
Right.
publisher, you
Exactly.
have to have a AAA budget poured into everything. And I'm going to be honest here. I don't think wrestling games need a AAA budget. I don't think WWE 2K25 needs to exceed like 75, $80 million
Mm.
or even 100 million. God forbid they get that silly with it. Like one reason the WWE games have been relatively inexpensive compared to other major games is look at how much stuff gets reused. It's like the
Right.
Yakuza games, except nowhere near as good.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's all the reused locations, animations, characters. Like that's why we get a Yakuza game like every year and why they're all fucking great.
Yeah,
And
you've gotta miss those mid-budget games, right? Like it's kind of bullshit that we don't get that stuff anymore.
the PS2 era started to kill a lot of those companies off, and then the PS3 era was just like you snap your fingers and they all disappear.
Mm.
Because think about it, like Midway limped along what 2.5 years ish into the. Oh no, 360 was '05. So Midway limped like almost 3.5 years into that generation. Acclaim was dead before any of those consoles were fucking actually revealed.
Yeah.
It like
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's the big publishers are all that's left, and then everything else there's like the big valley, and then there's like the indie games. And occasionally 2K will throw a company like Firaxis a smaller budget, and you get something like Marvel Midnight Suns that reminds you, like, hey, games like this used to fucking exist, and then it doesn't sell, and they don't greenlight a sequel or ever want to do anything with it again after that. And it's like, oh yeah, we're still pretending video games are a growth industry, and we need to have these inflated budgets, and every game needs to sell fucking 5 million copies.
It's
It's fucking frustrating.
yeah, it's an insane industry. One that like feels like it's gonna just eat itself because nobody can like you read about games that apparently like seemingly have done good sales or but judging by the numbers, and it's like yeah, actually no, they didn't do enough, so they're done. It's like what the fuck? Like
Hi-Fi Rush winning all of those awards and being as well regarded
yeah,
as it was, and then that studio getting shuttered. If that's
crazy.
not, and that's like the biggest example of what's wrong with the fucking video game industry. That is a great game, and
Mhm.
they were basically like, "Oh, we got to get you off the books." Like, go fuck yourself. Get the Call of Duty team off the books. You have fucking 4 COD devs. Why? Why are you alternating between like Infinity Ward and Treyarch? Or maybe everything's been absorbed into Infinity Ward at this point. Why is there a Call of Duty game every year? Oh, because you need to make stupid amounts of money every year, which means in like the last one, did you see the shit where like it had such a massive install, but you still had to stream the textures?
I
Fuck
no, I didn't hear
you.
about that, but holy fuck, yeah, it's
Like, give me 250 gigs of your SSD. Oh, by the way, you need to have internet on so we can stream these textures. You're not even going to notice because it's a fucking run and gun first person shooter.
we're definitely
Fuck me, man.
it's like releasing a quality product doesn't matter anymore. It's just like
No.
how much can you make off this? Like, have you made enough?
And
Cool.
I'll say this: I think Sony and Microsoft are going to learn a lot of hard lessons in the next console generation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Unless they pare everything down and they actually both launch a handheld and they make sure it's compatible with the main console games. Because we learned it with the Switch. Like cutting edge tech doesn't fucking matter anymore. The Steam Deck proved it. Cutting edge tech doesn't fucking matter anymore. The key to it is giving people a handheld experience that is close enough to the big consoles to where they can look at it and go, I can run most of those games on this. It's about the same price, if not cheaper. Why would I ever buy it? If the rumors about what the PS6 and the next Xbox, like the main consoles, are going to launch at, if those rumors are fucking true, buy a Steam Deck and a Switch too. It'd probably still be cheaper at that point.
Yeah. That's yeah, like PC gaming and I'm interested in Switch too because it's been a long time since I've had a Nintendo console, and obviously you're gonna get like exclusives through them, Mario titles and stuff. If I buy a PS6 or an Xbox, is there really anything there that I'm not gonna get on PC eventually? No, I don't think so. And even if there isn't, like, I don't even know if I'd be interested in their exclusives at this point anyway. It's just I'm so sick of like I feel like this generation's been a waste. Not that
It
there
has,
hasn't
yeah.
been not that there hasn't been some good games, but it's just like there hasn't been that like one killer game that everyone talks about or you need to own. So I just like stare at my Xbox and my PS5 like the fuck. It's like why would I bother anymore? I don't need this shit. I don't need two consoles and especially now that when you've got exclusives that are showing up everywhere or what used to be exclusives, right? I'm just so sick of consoles. Like it's just like these giant fucking machines that I have laying around and it's like what why? I don't use you. I look at you and then like, oh yeah, what a waste of money that was.
The only use for a PS5 at this point, honestly, is just to have a 4K Blu-ray player,
Pretty
which is
much,
why I
yeah.
regret getting rid of mine because I have all the 4K Blu-rays and I fucking can't watch them.
Yeah, the funny thing is though the TV I've got the PS5 hooked up to isn't even 4K, so I mean
Oh, geez, so it'd be a waste.
yeah, I mean things still look pretty crisp and clear and stuff, obviously, but yeah, I need a new TV up here anyway.
I uh, I guess we should talk about UPW. Um,
Bum bum bum.
so I had a friend of the show message me on Discord saying I absolutely can't wait for tomorrow's episode. And I guess just given things I've been told that people who are involved with UPW expect I'm going to get really mad. Um, that's not going to happen. Uh, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know, they announced that they've trademarked Aki. Is it Aki, Aki USA, Aki Corporation, and the Aki logo? I think there was
Not
four, right?
I don't think it was Aki Corporation. I just think it was AKI USA, and the logo
It's
itself.
Aki, motherfucker.
Is it really?
Yes, there are people who like Alex Navarro reviewed games for GameSpot. He was on Giant Bomb as well. He always referred to it as Aki. Everybody who's like Sanders Keel referred to them as Aki. Everybody refers to them as Aki. So
Okay,
that's just how I've.
if Sanders Keel is referring to it as Aki, I mean he actually worked with them. Alex
Yeah.
Navarro did a video where back in the day where he was shitting on like Fit Finley and stuff, so I don't trust him. Um, it's funny though because I went to like the Japanese trademark office website and I was looking into it and there was nothing in regards to video games, but I did see it's like initials AKI and there was like a beer company or something and it was like pronounced Aki and I was like, oh, is it Aki? That's a video game company Aki now or what the hell is going on? But if that's what it is, that's what it is. Let's call it that then.
Yeah, and other people have referred to it as that as well. Like, I'm trying to remember the other person from THQ. And there was a person from EA that got asked about Def Jam once and referred to them as that as well. So,
Okay.
like, that's how they referred to themselves. And fucking Gedasan on one of those Fight Forever videos they did afterwards, I'm pretty sure also said Aki.
All
And
right.
if Gedasan's saying it,
Yeah, I mean this has been a thing for like 20 years. Like what is it? How is it actually pronounced? But that's that's as good as confirmation as you can possibly get. So
and also just to circle back to the Alex Navarro thing, he worked in like games journalism, so like
yeah.
that would have been communicated to him at some point as well. So I've always just said Aki because that's that I'd heard it said as Aki in like 2002, and I was like, okay, so that's what they're called. Um,
I could have sworn it was like confirmed as Aki at some point, but then it seemed like more and more people started saying AKI. So then I was confused as like, well, is it AKI? Have I been saying it wrong? But it
well,
is what it
people
is.
called WAR war too, so
I
like
did, and you went, wow. But I mean,
motherfucker,
yeah,
they called it WAR on commentary.
yeah, I know. But you just say, WAR, and you get used to you just saying obviously the word war. So that's how I always said it. I didn't really think about it that much.
Anyway, this I'm not on Twitter, but
Oh,
there were some takes when this got announced, and before I went to bed the other night, I was like, yeah, that's cool. Doesn't really mean anything, but that's cool. And I went to bed and I woke up and like a bunch of people had messaged me about it, kind of shitting on it, and I was like one of my friends like, oh, so it's a Retromania situation, and I was like, well, no, Retromania didn't pay for the rights to use Technos for any of their marketing. They paid to use WrestleFest, and then WWE stepped in like, we don't fucking think so.
mm.
So it's not that. This is like if Retrosoft paid for the trademark for Technos or whatever, but like, my thing is this. You sent me the thing with like their reasoning for trademarking it. And that's all well and good. With that said, we need to be perfectly clear on how this needs to be marketed. You cannot call this an official successor to No Mercy or Def Jam or whatever, because there's none of that lineage is there.
Right.
You're still just the spiritual successor. Like if AEW would have trademarked Aki for Fight Forever, I'd be saying the same shit. Except they had Gaeta-san and a couple other people that apparently weren't credited, but that's again not the same thing. I don't want this to be marketed like they are Aki Corporation when they've basically said this is just to preserve the trademark so people don't abuse it. To circle back to my first point, to say you're like an official Aki game and successor would be abusing that IP. And third, like, on the face of it, I don't know, what do you get at this point if you trademark it? Like, you don't get the source code, you don't get the animations, you don't get any of the developers, you don't get the rights to put any of the old games out, because that's all tied up in like the THQ stuff, and then what does 2K own the rights to, and WWE owns the IP for all of it anyway. So like, is it nostalgia pandering? Like, hey, we've got Aki Man, who, to be perfectly clear, his last appearance in a game that anybody bought was WCW NWO Revenge almost 30 years ago.
Right.
And we've talked about this on recording and off recording. Leaning so heavily into Aki nostalgia is a great idea. The problem is the last game that people consider a true Aki game came out 25 years ago this year. A lot of people moved on from pro wrestling after, I don't know if anybody heard, but there was this silly little show called WrestleMania 17 where they turned Steve Austin heel, and a bunch of people said, no, thank you. And then that summer, they doubled down on turning him heel, and a bunch of people went, yeah, fuck this. And they didn't come back until like 2003, 2004. So like, is somebody going to see the Aki logo and want to buy this game based on that? I just, it's a very weird thing. Like, I don't have a problem with them doing it. Honestly, do whatever you want. Like, as long as the game is good, I hope it makes a lot of money and everybody's happy. It's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, what does the trademark actually give you? Like, is it going to be worth whatever money was spent to start the trademark proceedings? Are you going to get that back? And also, like, say somebody sees the trailer and they go to Steam, right? They go to Steam, Aki-inspired game, there's the logo, all the marketing. Presumably still none of the licensed characters are going to be in on launch. So, like, base game's $29, $39, whatever it's going to be. And then you see the names of some wrestlers you might know, but then it becomes $5 for each of them. How many people are going to look at that and go, okay, there's like 15 characters I want, and then they do the math as to how much that is on top of the base price of the game. This is literally part of the problem people had with Fire Pro World on PC, was to get any licensed characters, you had to pay extra, which wasn't a problem on console, obviously, because PS4 came with at least the base New Japan DLC pack. So, like, I understand the sentimentality of, like, I want to have this trademark. And honestly, trademarking this so somebody like PWX Dave doesn't realize that he can have it, so you block him out of having it, that's really funny. Like, I think that's great. I've really turned on Dave in the last 2 years since that interview.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of sad because he was really nice in the interview.
Yeah. But it's like, you just see how they're pushing forward with everything, and like, we're 2002 edgy, and it's like, man, we've already seen the progress from UPW, and they're way closer to what you wanted to do than you'll ever be. So
yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't have an issue with this. I'm not going to get mad about it. It does feel a little bit like nostalgia pandering. I know they said they're not going to rebrand themselves Aki, which is another one of those like, well, then why did you trademark it? Because I'm not gonna lie to you, if it were me, I got that trademark. I'd move hyper focus games to the side and I'd blast the Aki logo everywhere just to see what happens. But like, dude, imagine fucking you put out a trailer that Aki is back with like all the like new gameplay and animation. I
Yeah.
guarantee you get attention at that point. But I know people were expecting me to like get really angry about this, like I've done a few times over the last couple of years with UPW. This is such a like. It all comes down to how they market it. If they're disingenuous with the marketing, then I'll give you the rant that a couple of people are tuning in to hear. But like for right now, like they trademarked it. We don't actually know for sure how this is going to shake out in terms of what they're going to use it for. We know the Aki Man's back. We know they hold the trademark, and there's potentially merch and stuff coming. And we also know that according to the UPW side, their lawyer assured them that like these trademarks were abandoned. You can have them now.
It's the
So
the lawyer they used was the same lawyer that Aki used back in the day, apparently, which is kind of a crazy
how the fuck
coincidence.
did you find that guy?
Yeah, he was hiding in a hole somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
uh,
like how the fuck did you find him?
he was waiting. He saw the moment, and he's like, "Yes." Yeah, I've sort of gone through like a mix of emotions because, like, I mean, we should talk about the developer deep dive. Excuse me, where this was announced. Uh, it was a long video. It was 2.5 hours. Really no longer than our. I mean, it was shorter than some of our podcasts. But
Yeah,
I watched the whole thing. It was I mean, it was quite interesting, like to see the original idea for the ICW game, which is like 2D. The test models. One of them was Grado from M Dickey, and the other one was from Fire Pro.
yeah.
So
It
that
was
was
obviously traced over somebody in the power stance from Fire Pro.
yeah, you could tell like the hands were the same and stuff. It was very interesting to see. And that was supposed to be like a WrestleFest game, but his heart wasn't really into that. So then he started to do the Fear and Loathing game, which was supposed to be like an Aki style game. And then he showed that teaser that we've never seen, which was like the World Tour intro with ICW guys. And yeah, that was another just interesting thing. And he talked about like all the issues with getting things developed and stuff. And at one point he was doing a remake of Revenge just for like himself, and he had like created the Nitro set with the commentary table, the commentary stage at the side and stuff, and that looked crazy. Um,
Hey Sam, if you want to like hook us up with that, just so we could, for scientific research purposes.
I don't think he got too far on it. It was like an idea and he had. And he said like
Okay, well,
if he saw like what people have been doing today, like the guy that was remaking Hit and Run on YouTube, and like you can monetize that stuff. And he's like, if I could have known I could have done that, that would have been something I would have done. But it was just super interesting to see. And the models in that look like very very early UPW style models too, which was
yeah,
was interesting. And then getting into UPW, and this episode was strictly the main focus was animations. So they figured out like one person by themselves to get all the animations made from the Aki games, or from I guess No Mercy, really, when you think about it, would be like 15 years. Um, which maybe explains well, it doesn't explain PWX because they were doing like their own animations and stuff, but
yeah.
uh yeah. But he said he developed a system where he was able to produce the animations much faster, and the universal animations are now done. And there's a over 3 hour video on Patreon and Kickstarter now showing off the individual animations. Um, so I'm very curious as to what that process was that was able to help him speed it up. Uh, I know I've seen it a few times where 2K modders have brought up like this tool where you can take real footage and it will basically turn it into an animation. I saw Joe Mashups had like he had a video of Daniel Garcia entrance from some show, and then right next to it he had it like modded into 2K, and I was like, is that the same idea? Because it looks so close, right? Like it was pitch perfect. So I wonder if maybe something like that was used for UPW. Like I don't know how much that stuff costs. Like I have no idea. But I think if 2K modders are getting their hands on that, like you wouldn't think it would be overly pricey. Uh so and obviously something like that would greatly help in getting through those animations. So I wonder if that's the process. Other than that, I don't know what it would be to help put those animations together at a much faster speed than expected. But it was funny the video because it was like very sort of like down when talking about like the trials and tribulations of making video games and getting stuff together and issues with the demo and the way things work out and timelines and stuff. And then as you get towards the end of the video, it's like the
Oh,
animations are
by the
all
way,
done. Yeah, sorry.
it's like, oh, by the way, the Aki thing, and also we're gonna have a 3-hour video of the animation soon.
Yeah, yeah. So when he gets to the end and he's like talking about the animations are done, and I'm like, is he gonna drop like a demo right now? Because like I was like, he's like talking about that was really the main factor of what stopped the demo. I mean, there was other things as well, but it's like the animations was the main thing. So I was like, so are we getting it? I was like, it's just gonna be like, yeah, like go to this link and download it. I was like, what the hell's going on? And but he didn't announce it, and then there was the Aki announcement came afterwards. I was just kind of shocked because I was like, how the fuck? Like, did they buy this from Sin Sophia? Because I'm an idiot. I didn't think of anything about like trademarks and stuff like that, right? I was just like, oh, if you've got it, then you must have got it from them. And I guess they did reach out to them, but they didn't hear anything back. And then when I went to the US trademark office website and I saw that the trademarks were purchased and the previous ones had expired, and I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this because like it's not real ownership to me. You know what I mean? It's like it's one thing like when you buy. The only time I've really known like a major business change hands, from when I was from like the as far as I can remember, like the earliest back would be like WWF purchasing WCW. And it wasn't the case, obviously, where they just purchased the trademark. They had the name and the library footage and the rings and everything, right? So when I had heard that when I seen the video and they said they had Aki, I was like, oh, so you must have purchased everything. But no, it's just the trademarks. And I was like, so you don't really have Aki. I mean, you have the name technically, and you have the logo, but it's not really, the company. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. And then talking to them, talking to a bit to Gimbals and then to Sam, I was like, okay, like if you're not going to change the name to Aki, and as we've talked about, it's going to depend on how the name is used, right? Like if you want to put like an Aki logo on the mat, cool. Freem had that in Freem Edition, and I think that texture was from Ultimate Muscle anyway. If
Yeah, I
you
was
want
gonna
to,
say, do the ultimate muscle ring in this game. That'd be cool.
yeah, absolutely. If you're gonna put the Aki logo in your version of the Tokyo Dome, cool. If you're gonna call Karakan Hall Aki Hall, cool. Like I'm down with that stuff. They've talked about putting the Aki in the credits, and if you're gonna be like have a really nice message to them and stuff, much like Aki did to wrestling fans.
Oh,
Hmm.
I was about to say, Sam, Gimbal, somebody from UPW listening to this, play those No Mercy credits until you get to the message from Sanders Keel. That needs to be in UPW.
Yeah.
There's like no way around it. You want to be a No Mercy successor? Sanders Keel tried to leave something like that in almost every game he worked on. And you could even, instead of putting Sanders' name there, just like thank you, Aki, or whatever. But that message needs to be in there because even if your inspiration isn't necessarily the same, you want to carry on that lineage and legacy. That message needs to be in there because that's an important thing to a lot of fans. Like I
I
remember seeing that for the first time when I was like 9, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was actually gonna bring that up to Sam myself yesterday, and for whatever reason I forgot to. I think if you're gonna put Sanders Keel's name in the credits, when his name pops up,
Couple things.
you need to have the sound of someone crunching an apple.
Yes.
When his name pops up. Uh, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's as we've basically said, it depends on how the name is going to be used. And I think if you're going to have it in the game and some nice nods here and there, cool. I have no problem with that. It's
Oh, in the game, I'd beat people over the head with it. Honestly, I'd have the Aki ring. I'd
the,
have the Aki Hall. Like I'd have Korakuen in there. I'd have the Aki logo in
as a
every
weapon,
major stadium.
like
Fuck yeah! Instead
you
of
just
like the Rock book, a big like Aki board, like it's
yeah,
raw for the fucking 32X.
exactly, yeah.
I'm not being ironic with any of this. Like I would, Aki world title. That should be the fucking main title in season mode or the career mode.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, if you got it, why not? Yeah, I guess just go all the
Yeah,
way with it.
yeah. Like I'd use it as much as possible in the game. Like
You could,
I just don't want to see like, oh, we've brought Aki back. Like
yeah, yeah,
that's not the case.
yeah, yeah.
Or
I agree.
like we have the trademark, so now we're the real successor. Like you don't have any of the actual staff. Like that dev team's gone. But I do like
Yeah,
the idea of using it in the game, like Aki title, Aki ring, Aki Hall. Like that stuff's all really fucking cool,
just put it
honestly.
everywhere. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, to have instead of like the BVD logo that was on like the back of New Japan refs in the '90s, just put the Yaki logo there.
yeah. Like
Yeah,
I'm not kidding when I say it. I'd blast that all over the fucking game.
you could
Like
just have.
the MMA company, do
Yeah.
the sponsors on the mat have one of them
Oh
be
yeah.
Aki?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. That makes a
If
lot of
you do
sense.
a New Japan style ring, have one of those have the fucking main do the BVD logo from '90s New Japan and put the AKI, put the Aki there. It doesn't have to be the Aki logo, just be the letters. That'd
Yeah,
be
I
cool.
like. I like the idea that it would be used in the game as a sponsor. I think that is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Monday Night Riot, like the early '90s, do the promotional consideration paid for by the following bit, like the Alfred Hayes bit, and have it
Yeah.
be Aki Corporation. Like, there's
Yeah.
so much you can do. Like, that's how I think you get the most out of the trademark is just like have it all over the game.
Yeah. True. I mean, that all sounds pretty damn cool to me.
If there's like a 2000 like WWF entrance where it's like the two big video screens on the side, hyper focus games on one side, Aki on the other.
God, you're all about branding, aren't you?
Fuck it. They paid for the trademark. They might as well goddamn use it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, if I had the trademark, there'd be a fucking trailer with that logo all over the place and all sorts of new animations and shit.
You said like just go ahead and call it Virtual Pro Wrestling 3, and I was like, well, how many WWF fans would even know what Virtual Pro Wrestling
Well,
2 is?
there's a really mean joke I could make right now, but I won't. But yeah, I would just fucking see how many like just like old school hockey fans you could piss off by calling it VPW3.
Yeah.
But I'm a shit stirrer, so don't listen to that suggestion. All the other stuff about blasting the logo all over the game, please do that. Like, there's, you know what? Honestly, they'd never do it, but I'd find a way to like just do arena homages. Like, don't do like a 1-to-1 of like any of the Def Jam arenas, but like do like an approximation of one. If
Mhm.
there's like a backstage brawl mode or whatever, um, like do one based on like the parking lot in Def Jam where like the idea of the match is you fuck up the other guy's car. Like I know famously Sam said he didn't like those games on the UPW account when people were like, Aki wasn't like No Mercy wasn't the last Aki game, but like those are very much part of Aki's lineage. And
Yeah.
people still love those games. Like I'd like to see a nod to both of those games
If you
because
can
they are
throw
very
someone
important.
through a window like you would do to Snoop Dogg, I mean, I would do that these days. I would like to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, like and I'm looking forward to seeing the MMA stuff and how that all
Yeah,
works.
that's sort of like in something that isn't talked about obviously as much because it's considered, it's a pro wrestling game, but that is an aspect of the game that hopefully we get to see more of at some point.
Unless
There's
something's changed and it's not going to be in, but it was in that original trailer, so I'm assuming
I
nothing's changed there.
Yeah, from what I've understand, that's still very much in.
Good.
I think Sam said he would, come back on the show. I think the best time to have him back would be when they do the deep dive on gameplay
Yeah.
and we get some more footage, and then we can really see what developments have been made and really go through that. I think that would be a good time. But
You know what
yeah,
the problem is, though? If we have Sam back on, people are going to expect me to yell at him, and I'm not going to do that.
uh, you two should meet somewhere and fight. Maybe
We'd
Scotland.
have
I
to
don't
launch
know.
the critical Patreon for that one. No, we'd have to find like neutral ground. So it wouldn't be the
Uh,
Midwestern U.S. It wouldn't be Scotland. So what would be like neutral ground there? Like New Zealand?
no, that's too close to. Well, yeah, I
It's
guess.
not really close to Scotland. It's also not really
No,
close to
I
where
was
I am.
really confused, and I was thinking of Grand Slam last night, and I was like, "What the fuck? We're not talking about Australia." Yeah,
Well, this same continent.
that's true. Yeah,
I don't
I
think they have
mean,
kangaroos in New Zealand
I
though.
just want like you guys to fight in Scotland and like have somebody like gets beheaded, and then you got
Well,
a
that's really
Highlander.
fucked up.
But I like Highlander, so like if that happens, then you get the quickening, right?
Mm, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with Sam coming back on the show. Obviously, like
Well, I've
it's
decided
been what 2 years.
I've decided he's banned from the show.
Okay,
No, yeah.
all right. I'm not the one that said that shit. Let the record show.
Now I'm gonna get in trouble. Someone's gonna be like, "Oh, well, you know what? When we get in trouble, it's when people are the nicest to us." So it's
Yeah,
like,
they get mad at us, and then like PWX Dave got really mad at us, and then he did the podcast.
yeah, I don't get it, but all right.
I kept trying to get somebody from AEW Games to get Kenny Omega to get on the podcast with us,
Oh
and
my god,
they're like, he hasn't heard your podcast. I'm like, I don't care. I want to talk to
really?
Kenny.
Oh, you should listen, Kenny. If you're out there, give it a listen.
There
It's
are
only
other
free.
people in AEW Games that know about the show, though. I will tell you that.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Um.
I don't know how high
um,
it goes, but there are absolutely people that had hands on Fight Forever and a couple of people that had hands on some of the mobile games that have heard the show.
Interesting.
Eh, only one of them will talk to me though. So, well,
Oh,
not one, two, but
does Harley
one of them I
Cameron
have
listen to the
regular
show?
conversations with. I don't know, but if he did, please marry me.
That's a bit forward. I'd wait a little
I
bit.
don't really have anything to offer necessarily.
You can
I
marry the
mean,
puppet, maybe.
no, because I watched that Married to the Eiffel Tower documentary, and I don't want to be associated with that.
The what? Did you watch what?
There's a documentary called Married to the Eiffel Tower about people that have like intimate relationships with inanimate objects.
Hmm.
I would recommend everybody watch it, but it's also a documentary about people that have gone through some really horrible shit. So like I don't want to make too light of it. Um the two people they do focus on both have really traumatic backstories, but it's just there's some isolated from the context. There are some really fucking nutty segments of that documentary.
If you said you were
Like,
married to a company, do you get the trademarks and the prenuptials?
well, that would be on the backside, I think. If you could claim the like the prenup would be like them trying to prevent you from owning that stuff. But I don't
Hmm.
think companies are inanimate objects. They're more like ideas.
Yeah, like, but they can be objects. Like, if you
We're
make a
flying too
logo.
close to the sun, I think.
Yes, often compared to Icarus.
We fly too close to the sun a lot on this show, but that's I don't know. I
Where are
don't
we
need the people
going?
from Married to the Eiffel Tower coming after me. I don't fucking know. Um, action figure news. That's where we're going. Zombie Sailors posted a couple of teases for Public Enemy. They go up tomorrow. I'm assuming 80 or 85 for the 2-pack. There's also a mystery drop coming tomorrow. Maybe that's Ryback. I feel like Ryback's the figure he hinted out on the major pod group that's going to have the high-end commercial, but who the hell knows?
Dude, if they like do like a copy of the Terminator 2 teaser or something of Ryback, because I know he loved Terminator 2 because he didn't know Terminator 1 existed. That'd be cool.
I'm trying to think of other wrestling figure news. Oh, the Epic Series 4 are up for pre-order now, and I hate to say this, but I was talking with a friend of mine, and it's like not knowing when in March the 6-inch zombie figures are going up potentially really puts me in a spot where I can't spend money on other stuff for a minute. So those figures are unfortunately like casualties of that, which sucks because they're all really good and I'd like to have them, but the only chance of me getting them in is if on the back end, like Figure Collections has a little bit of extra stock and I'm able to get to it before they sell out. And even then, I don't know.
Yeah, I was on Figure Collections and I added a Barbarian to the cart and got the final price and it was like $97, and $97 for one figure. It's just like I can't.
Well, we do have another interesting fucking thing to talk about in terms of action figure pricing momentarily, but we'll talk about some of the other stuff I've seen. Ow, my foot hurts. Actually, has there been any other? Mitch posted a render of his figure, and
did you mention that Epic showed that they've signed Ronnie Garvin?
Oh yeah, so for the love of wrestling, apparently the only reveal they had was carding for Rugged Ronnie Garvin, which is cool.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because I don't think he's never had a figure before. He's one of those guys that I always try to think was in the Classic Superstars line, but absolutely was not.
Right, yeah.
What a guy that would be for Power Town if they did like a Remco of him. Or like an Ultra, God forbid. I'm curious to see what body they give Ronnie Garvin too, because in my mind, Macho Man #1, because the punching, but also could be the clothesline body.
That's
Just don't do the Jake Roberts body for him. That's like way too lanky. Ronnie Garvin was like a short, kind of stocky guy. So
yeah, that's cool.
Great wrestler.
He's also someone that technically would have fit in with the original Hasbro line. So that's cool.
Yeah, if they would have had the ability to do 2 series in 1990, there's like a decent chance Ronnie Garvin would have been one of the undercard guys that would have made the cut, just because like the development would have started like towards the summer or fall of '89, presumably.
Yeah.
So I got zero problem with a retro style Ronnie. I got zero problem with anybody doing any sort of Ronnie Garvin merchandise. I've been a huge fan of that guy for a long time. But Mitch showed off the render for his figure. I could not possibly give a shit.
Yeah, I
know Kyle Peterson was very nice about it in his YouTube video. Get the most out of your molds or whatever. But like, I can't imagine that's going to sell enough units to justify whatever production cost is.
Those are the type of things that like making small quantities and maybe keep to yourself.
Like maybe he doesn't have the 1,000 unit minimum order quantity like Zombie has.
Yeah.
But I don't. Man, who cares? But speaking of Kyle Peterson, speaking of action figure pricing, what was it? Wednesday they confirmed that Maximum Spider-Man would be $49.99, which we kind of already knew. And people swore up and down that figure is not going to sell at that price point. Disney and Hasbro have gotten greedy. This shouldn't be any more than $30. It's just the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man, which no the fuck it isn't. I've seen them side by side. No the fuck it isn't. And it didn't take too long. That figure sold out on Amazon almost immediately. It sold out on Hasbro Pulse the same day. It came back and sold out again. It sold out twice on Entertainment Earth. It sold out on Big Bad Toy Store. I think the only major website left to get it from is GameStop. And apparently, if you're like a pro rewards member and you have rewards points, I saw somebody take a screenshot of it. They got that figure for like $28.
Huh.
So, but I saw Kyle Peterson like, oh, I think it should have been $39.99, which like, yeah, I wish it was $39. But several factors to consider here. Completely new tooling, amount of pieces, especially the amount of pieces. There's 6 different sets of hands, completely new articulation scheme. Also, insane amount of deco. Look at the paint on that Spider-Man compared to every other Spider-Man they've done. The web lines are way, way more accurate. There are a ton of them on the Maximum figure. And the biggest thing I want to stress here, this is not a mass market retail figure. If it were, it probably would be $39.
Right.
But it's fan channel exclusive, which means Hasbro Pulse, Amazon, Big Bad, Entertainment Earth, GameStop, maybe Best Buy. That's about it. So it's probably going to have a smaller run than your average. And who the hell knows what the average Marvel Legends run is, because they put them in every store. And they're $25 for the regular figures. But I've seen so many YouTube videos that popped into my recommended videos where it's like, oh, Maximum ripoff. And I watched a video from Lyle Figure Files where he looked on Big Bad Toy Store where they have the Mafex Spider-Man, the comparable one to this one, which is $95. Apparently, some hardcore collectors know where to get that Mafex figure for $50, but they won't share the link. They just say if you know where to dig. But like, if people don't, you need to help them out. Otherwise, they're stuck buying this figure that you're saying is a waste of money. My point is, Lyle looked up the Mafex figure, and it comes with less accessories for $45 more. He found one of the Tom Holland Spider-Man ones. It might have been Andrew Garfield, one of those two. It was like $105 with way less shit. And I'm sitting there looking at the inbox pictures of all these figures, and I'm like, okay, so these ones are apparently they're fine at being like $95, $105, $110. But this one that's $50 with similar articulation, similar deco, and more shit is somehow not worth $50 because it's Hasbro making it. And I don't want to defend Hasbro, but like, you look at that Spider-Man, and I think I even said it when it was first revealed, like I could see $40, $45. 50 would probably be the max I'd pay for it. And
yeah,
it ended up being 50, and I pre-ordered it. I have zero problem with it. Like, for what you're getting, I don't get how you can look at that and go, that's not worth 50, unless you just don't like Spider-Man, or you have one of the other 90s Spider-Man figures and he's not like, you know, a priority character for you, and you're like, this is good enough. But like, I have the Mafex Spider-Man, and I broke it trying to pose it, and I'm like super gentle with my toys. I'm not like, I don't gorilla hand my shit anymore. I'm pretty sure if I try to pose that Spider-Man that Hasbro's making, it's not going to break. Not to say that like Mafex figures are poor quality, but like, I'm scared to touch them. And I'm far from alone in that sentiment. So I just keep the few that I have in the box. And Marvelous News reiterated the Hulk is next, and that's going to be $70 minimum, and that's fine. Apparently Deadpool might be the third figure, and brother, let me tell you, I don't care.
No, I would have expected you were talking about like getting Deadpool before Wolverine, and I would have expected Wolverine to be the next one.
Yeah, Wolverine, Cap, Iron Man, Thor.
Yeah.
I would have. My friend Kara was like, just do the big four from the 2000s first, which Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hulk, Cap. And I was like, yeah, that's like the obvious. That's the obvious ones, but we're getting. And I get that Deadpool's popular, and I'm not going to be one of those guys like, well, nobody's going to buy it because I'm not fucking stupid. I know they will. It's just not as exciting to me as if the next figure in the line is like a Jim Lee Wolverine, or like a fucking Captain America, or an Iron Man, or a Jack Kirby Thor. I just think there's better options. I will say this about that Hulk though. $75, $80 max price probably is going to be very interesting, because Mezco recently teased that they're making a Hulk figure, and I guarantee you that thing's going to be like $115. It's probably going to come with a bunch of hands and effects pieces, much like the Maximum Hulk. The key to this, I think, is going to be articulation. Mezco doesn't really do butterfly joints, at least that I've seen on the Marvel toys that they make. So unless they change the articulation scheme or something, I honestly think the Hasbro one might end up being the better value. We know now 3 sets of hands for Hulk, 3 heads, firing missile effect, the wind clap that he does, and like a punch effect. So that's like what? That's like 10 accessories with an 8.5-inch tall figure, presumably all new sculpting because Spider-Man had it. And honestly, to justify the price that they're going to be charging for these figures need to be new tooling. To be perfectly clear here, I've seen so many people like, well, you know they're going to use that Spider-Man body later. I don't give a shit. Let them use it later. It's tooling they have now. They can do whatever the fuck they want with it. But like, this is the first place you're going to be able to get it. I have no problem paying the premium if it's the first figure and you get all the stuff with it. But that has to be the edict for this entire line. It has to be new tooling. Otherwise, you are getting into the scummy shit people are accusing them of. Where, well, this is just an old Spider-Man body with new neck articulation, even though if you compare that Spider-Man to every other one, it's not. If they show Wolverine and it's literally just X-Men 97, Secret Wars Wolverine with like the extra neck articulation, they're going to get bodied and they deserve it. If this Hulk is just the Hulk I already have, but painted green with a couple of effects, well, one, the wind clap effect wouldn't make any fucking sense because you can't put his hands together, but that's neither here nor there. My point is, like, if the idea is premium articulation and deco on these, it better be new bodies. Otherwise, you are fucking people over.
You know, like, people talk about the price point of the Spider-Man, but, like, it's selling out everywhere. So, you know, you can say, like, it should be cheaper, but if people are willing to buy it at that price, then, like, you don't really have any argument at that point. Because apparently everyone else doesn't really care.
And I've seen people like, well, if this sells out, that just tells Hasbro they can charge us more. Listen, if the regular Marvel Legends figures go up to $30, that Maximum Spider-Man is not to blame. Blame the dipshit in the White House.
Yeah.
That's why the figures are going to go up. And also, speaking of figures that have went up for pre-order recently, I think last week we mentioned the Storm Arena Ken for $26.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say again, that's like one of the best action figures I've ever seen.
Oh my god, I was looking at that and I was like, God damn it! I don't want to buy more stuff. And I was like, shit, I might have to pick that up sometime.
Dude, it's perfect. It's straight up. Other than the glove color being different, it's because that's how he looks in Alpha 3. It's just Street Fighter the animated movie Ken.
He has doesn't he have like an alternate pair of like brown gloves though? Yeah. What were they in the movie? I don't even remember.
Brown.
Okay, so then that works then, yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't have different gloves. He just has like the come on hands and like another. I think he has like the Hadoken hands too.
I thought he did have 2 pairs of. I thought he had different colored gloves. I might be looking at it wrong then.
No, he does come with the Shoryuken effect though, and a character stand. Which that was one of the complaints I saw about Maximum Spider-Man is he has a web effect stand, but not a stand for the actual character. I'm on board with that. I think for $50 it should have had that, but I'm also not. I'm not really bothered about that, to be honest with you. Speaking of Street Fighter, Jada Toys Sagat and Blanca went up for pre-order on Wednesday, $30. And I sent the Sagat to Wrestling Figure News, and I was like, this figure's $3 less than a Mattel Ultimate, by the way. It has way better range of motion than anything Mattel makes. It has better articulation than anything Mattel makes. I'd argue it has better deco than anything Mattel makes. And then you look at Blanca, and it's like another completely new body, has the effects piece, has the alternate head. These are great figures. The Jada Toys figures are amazing. The fact that Storm Collectibles is jumping in at that like $25, $27 price point and the figures look the way they do. If I was Mattel, I'd be looking at that and going, people are going to start getting smart. Because you see Hasbro's response to it in part is like the Maximum line and also trying to do more interesting like mainline releases like the mini comic figures. Like, you're not just getting a Marvel Legends figure, you're getting like the little comic instead of a Build-A-Figure piece, and they're on like retro carding and blah blah blah. I can't look at what Mattel makes. Like, we talked about the NWO Muda last week,
Right. Yep.
and I saw a picture of it again, and it dawned on me like that's the Edge CM Punk torso from 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we still using tooling from like the year I graduated high school?
Yeah, it's a good point. Also, I was just trying to think of like accessories and stuff, but like a robe would be nice and stuff like that, or like the dragon on his shoulder, whatever it was that he wore around that period would have been a nice thing to have. But
And I also have to stress this:
yep.
that Muda figure retails $22.99, right? The regular Jada Toy Street Fighter figures are $2 more with better articulation. They all come with an effects piece. Dalsim comes with fucking an alternate arm and leg. Like, what the fuck is Mattel's excuse?
Well, being a very large company, I think they feel like they can get away. They can sell more by doing less, basically, because they're so large and they're working with these IPs. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it would be nice to see a lot more work put into them. I think Jada's definitely like they've changed the game, and when you've got like Storm doing something similar, obviously based on what Jada has done, and they see that the success that they have had, and hopefully, like I don't know how big Jada actually is, but like I would love to see them get more IPs and stuff like that. But yeah,
I mean, they were
the
big enough to get the goddamn Scooby Doo license.
yeah, I don't know. I with Mattel, it's like they maybe could use an overall overhaul all the way, but they're stuck in their ways. I did find it funny on the back of the Muta card. It said that he was a WCW and former WWF champion. I don't know where they got that from.
Maybe
But
the WCW champion thing is did he beat Chono for the international belt?
yeah, so that okay, but like WWF champion or WWE champion as well. Like what?
No, their copy has been awful for the longest time. Like the fucking Alberta, British Columbia thing, and Steve being like, "Well, that's a nod to the old LJN." Okay, but
Is
who the
it?
fuck actually knows that was there?
Yeah, exactly. There's
Like,
when
who
you're
cares?
keeping in errors is kind of a weird thing to do.
Yeah, like that's like, oh, wouldn't this be funny? No, it's stupid. Like Bret Hart's wife was like, "Oh, really? What the fuck?" Like you want to tell Bret Hart's wife, you want to tell Bret that they fucked that up on the original figure, so 40 years later you thought it would be funny to do it again? I don't think Bret would find that funny. I
He
don't think
would
Bret finds anything funny.
they would be number two under Goldberg and things he hates.
Oh, Alberta's it's a province, like British Columbia,
That's actually not a bad Bret Hart impression.
I've been doing it for fucking forever. Um, but yeah, like I look at Mattel and Hasbro's not without faults. I do think they charge a little too much for some stuff. But like Marvel Legends still has better articulation. Why are the Mattel figures that are $33 still lagging behind the TNA figures from when I was in like my freshman year of high school?
Because they can.
Yeah, it's just when I hear like,
The-
oh, the elites are the best wrestling figure line ever, like all the articulation's not that different than the deluxe aggression figures from 20 fucking years ago. They just have double jointed elbows now. Whoop de fucking do.
yeah, they're not going to change anything too drastically unless like someone really pushes them to, and I don't think anyone is. So
No, the closest we got was 2020, 2021 when the AEW figures came out and they decided, oh shit, we should do double jointed elbows.
yeah,
That's the closest we're ever going to get. Because those figures were hot for a minute and then they cooled the fuck off, much like the company itself. But we've got Toy Fair, and what is it? Today's the 16th. So Toy Fair is in
yeah.
2 weeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
Toy
Yeah,
Fair
I'm
is in
looking forward to
two
that.
weeks. One of my friends told me like maybe don't expect as much actually for Toy Fair this year. A lot of companies are skipping it because the entire point of Toy Fair, decades ago, like I always talk about the issue of Toy Fair magazine covering the 99 New York Toy Fair where like it's all this stuff and there were all these previews because there were all these companies trying to sell their figures to all the different stores and their like toy buyers. Most of the stores are gone now. You're basically selling to Walmart, Target, Amazon, like that's it. And Amazon will take whatever. They're fucking Amazon. And from what we've seen, Walmart and Target will take damn near anything now too. I was in a Target. Oh, did I tell you the story the day before the day of the Royal Rumble? When we were trying to like just keep me moving, so I didn't focus on how sick I was. We go to Target in Indianapolis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're walking to the toy section. These two little kids run by us, and they say something to their mom, and I'm like, "There's no way I just fever dreamed this." And then I hear the mom respond to the kids, and I just go to my friend like, "Dude, British people." And he goes, yeah. I'm like, that's so fucked up, man. And I had a fever. I don't mean anything by that. I was just like, I thought I hallucinated these British children running around talking about like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or whatever the fuck they were talking about. And that's like the only thing I remember from that trip to Target.
That could have been me in like 1990. I would have been doing the same thing. Little British kid running around talking about Ninja Turtles.
I don't even remember if that's what those little girls were talking about. The one thing I do remember is I saw like the Eastman and Laird like 2-pack that they did of I think it's like the original turtle designs.
Yeah.
So that's maybe why I'm conflating. But I heard the accent and I was like, there's no way. This is Indianapolis. What? And then like I felt bad because I said that out loud and I was like pointing at them when I said it. I was like, oh, that was really mean of me, man. I should go find them and apologize. That was my internal monologue. And then I was like, let's just see what's in the adult collector area. Because like that Target had like toys in the adult collector area. The adult collector figures were over with the toys. It was a fucking mess. There were WWE toys in like 3 different aisles. Now that I say it, I actually remember everything about that Target trip. It was such a clusterfuck. It was like a Walmart level. No, it was a Kmart level clusterfuck. I was impressed. Those Eastman and Laird figures by NECA, those are really, really cool. And also, I don't know why I expect everything they do to be like the bigger, like 7-inch scale. But I saw a review of those Mirage turtles, and they're smaller than a Marvel Legends Spider-Man, like in terms of height.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really cool. I don't know why I think that's cool, but that's really cool.
And you started reading the IDW comics and the Last Ronin yesterday.
Yeah. So I bought the trade paper, the first 4 volumes of the trade paperbacks for the IDW run, and I bought the Last Ronin. And I've been kind of gradually running through volume 1 of the IDW comic, and it's so fucking good. Like the first issue establishes so many characters. The backstory of the turtles is totally different. They're all still tied to Splinter, but it's like through reincarnation. It's like the fucking craziest shit. One of the last issues I read teased Bebop and Rocksteady, so you see like the human forms with them. They do the thing from the Mirage comics where they're all wearing the red because like Raph gets separated from the group and they got to find him. So while they're looking for him, they wear red because that's his favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get reunited and they've been together for like a minute, Raph gets his thighs. The others get the color headbands that we all associate with them.
Nice.
The micro series one shots are all just like really funny little side stories that they actually tie into the larger continuity. There is a guy who's fucking a Jack Kirby fan who keeps saying obstruse instead of obtuse. So that was a funny little bit. And then I read The Last Ronin. It was the last comic I read yesterday. I barreled through that in like 2 hours, probably.
Oh yeah, same with me.
Incredible story. I love that Mikey, the least serious of the turtles, is the one that's left. Spoiler alert, by the way. I loved everything about that, like him almost committing seppuku and kind of like passing out before he could. The little the little teaser of him in the afterlife with his brothers, and then you get the fucking 2-page thing at the end where the turtles are all together, and then fucking Casey Jones shows up, and they're all having a conversation. And Splinter shows up, and you see the last panel of them on like a rooftop together. That shit made me tear up.
Imagine when they make the movie though, if that's connected to the original movies, that would hit really hard.
Yeah, I wonder about the rights stuff though, because the original movies are like Warner Brothers owned.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
But Nickelodeon owns the IP, so like it would be really cool. I mean, that comic's meant to be connected to the original Mirage comics, not the contemporary IDW ones. And I knew the bit in the comic when it's like the ghosts talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew what that was like right away because I kind of sort of knew some of the story. NECA are doing the ghost versions of the characters, and the like bodies on them are like translucent plastic. It looks like, which is really fucking cool because they're not drawn and colored in the comic as if they're translucent like they're actual ghosts. They're kind of just drawn like they're there, and you just know that like they're not.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
And I liked how in the flashbacks segments it would snap over to like the 80s Mirage comics art style for a few pages and then snap back to like the, because if you know, you know, and if you don't, it's like, oh, this looks wacky. But I knew, so I was like, oh yeah, the Mirage comics. I think that thing absolutely stands like shoulder to shoulder with some of the Frank Miller stuff that clearly inspired it, like The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Because
No,
that's
yeah,
exactly
definitely.
it's Turtles Dark Knight Returns. That's what it is. Maybe not in terms of like lifting, like it's not a copy paste, but like that's the fucking influence. It's very clear that's the influence.
Yeah,
And
I'm interested to see if that game is still being made or what's going on there because it was Embracer Group, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so
and they
nothing's been
fired half the studio, so
yeah, but they could have passed it on to somebody else. I don't know. You'd think that'd be a project that you don't want to drop, but who knows?
well, I mean, the KOTOR remake was in development by one of the Embracer studios, and they're adamant that's still being made, but
Yeah,
who the fuck knows?
but the movie they were talking about like it was going to be live action suits, right? Like not CGI, and that sounds fucking crazy in this day and age to do that, and like that could either be really really cool or really really bad. We'll see what happens there. I know that we're talking about like James Wan might direct it, um, but nothing's been said about it for a while. But yeah, I'm super curious. That's something that I'm gonna keep up with, and like I can't wait for like behind the scenes pictures to drop and shit because like if they are gonna use the suits to see what they look like and stuff like that, and yeah, I'm very interested in that.
It would probably be cheaper to do the suits than do all the fucking CGI bullshit in post production too.
Yeah, you're right, but like you know what they all like these days, right? It's always like CGI, CGI. So to do the turtles
Yeah,
like what we remember them as from kids would it's just like holy fuck. If you did connect it to the old one, if it was possible, and you had like Elias Cortez as Casey and shit, that would just be so cool. Like if you could
yeah.
bring back the goddamn Shredder Sweet song, which is like the best fucking villain theme almost ever, that would be cool as shit. God, I love that first movie.
Oh, also, I should note, I really enjoyed the Casey Jones stuff in the IDW comic. He's he's kind of a knucklehead that plays hockey for like the community college or just a college in general, and his dad's like a drunk asshole.
Oh.
And he becomes friends with Raph because Raph's just like walking by the house and he hears some commotion, so he busts down the door and whips ass, and they meet up intermittently to just go around and fuck people up like bad
Nice.
guys. So like yeah, I've seen some of the 80s cartoon. I've seen very little of the '03 cartoon. I've seen the 2012 cartoon. I've played basically every classic Turtles game. I've seen at least the first two live action movies. I don't think I've ever seen the third one in full. My favorite version of the Turtles are the IDW Turtles. They're way cooler in that than they are in any adaptation I've ever seen, even the ones I like.
I really liked the 2003 animated series. I thought, because I grew up with the original cartoon, right? So when that came out, I was like, I don't know. And I'm also like getting older at the time, and then I remember watching a few episodes, and like, this is actually pretty damn cool. And yeah, I thought it was really good. You were talking about the third movie. I loved that movie when I was a kid. Like people say that's like the worst of the three, and I'm sure it is. But like when I was a kid, I remember my friend had the villain on the horse that he brought to school when we were doing a play, and like the idea of them going back in time and samurai and shit. I thought that was like the coolest thing.
I It's very fascinating to look at like the timeline with the turtles because my understanding is that third movie comes out like right when the popularity starts sliding.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because like if you just looked at the original run of the turtles in isolation, it looks like something that's just going to stay dead forever, and then the '03 cartoon happens, and we basically, through cartoons, comics, movies, video games, we've basically had like reboots of the turtles every few years since '03. That shit is
hmm
never going away, and it never should go away either.
Yeah. To me now, it definitely feels like yeah, this is here to stay because each generation now has its own turtles, right? So it's just gonna keep going for generations. Like, oh, my turtles were this, my turtles were that, and that's a cool thing. I don't think anyone would have expected that in like what 88 or whatever when it started the animated series. So yeah, to see it just continue is like a really cool thing. I mean, it's up with stuff like Batman and stuff now, right? Like it's just gonna keep going. Probably when we're gone, it's gonna be around. So yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah, the turtles are going to be there forever. It's very funny to me that like Nickelodeon of all companies realizes that shit's got the sauce, and every few years when they need to just reboot it or do something different, they will.
Yeah.
And you compare that to like one of the things that replaced the turtles in terms of like cultural popularity, which is the X-Men. And 2010 is real good for the turtles. The X-Men were basically non-existent for the 2010s in a lot of ways. And it's like, thank God there was not an Ike Perlmutter equivalent at fucking Nickelodeon who was just like, oh well, we're not going to make any money off of this. So fucking, let's get rid of it or whatever. It's very cool the turtles are still around, and also like all the different toy lines because Playmates are doing like the ones that you see at Walmart that are more geared towards like the kids. They did like the remastered ones that are kind of aimed
Crazy.
more at like adult collectors. And then like NECA's doing like fucking everything else. And then like Super 7 are doing those ultimates based on the '03 cartoon. And dude, those things look fucking incredible. They're $55 though.
It,
So
it's
like,
really crazy when I go into Toys R Us and I see like the turtles that are basically the same ones that I had when I was a kid.
mm,
It's just like it's like this weird like time warp. Like you go down an aisle and it's like, wait a minute, what year am I in again? It's just so weird.
I really like those remastered ones too, because it's like, let's do updated articulation
Yeah,
on the originals. I will say, like, they did the weird thing where they gave the skin like a texture instead of leaving it smooth, and that looks a little weird. But like, I like the idea of them, and apparently they did well enough that there's a second wave coming with like Shredder. I think Bebop and Rocksteady are in that wave too.
that's cool.
Yeah, like I also didn't realize like Bebop and Rocksteady are not in the original Mirage comics. They were made for the animated series, and Peter
Yeah,
Laird might not have liked them.
yeah. That's why they had like Toka and Raza in the second movies because he didn't like Bebop and Rocksteady. I think it was supposed to be them originally.
Well, I can't imagine not liking the Turtles equivalent of the Nasty Boys. I just want to say that.
That's true. Yeah,
That's like I always equated those two like groups when I was a kid. Like I don't know why, but the first time I fucking saw those, I was like, oh yeah, knobs and sags. I have zero like. There's no way they were the inspiration. Like
no,
cartoon premieres before the Nasty Boys are ever on national TV. I'm pretty sure, but
yeah.
it is very fucking funny that like I think of one in my head, I think of the other immediately.
Now I want to see like the compilation of Bebop and Rocksteady to the Nasty Boys theme.
I want somebody to dub like Nasty Boys promo audio over Bebop and Rocksteady in the '87 cartoon.
Hey, we could take it from those Ridge in the Cage clips.
That's true. Yeah. those are still a hoot to listen to, man.
Yeah, that's crazy shit.
Yeah, I'm so glad that one like fax correspondence from late '93 where they had all the like cool ideas for Raw, and it's like, God, I wish. Do you know how
Yeah,
much
and like
more I would like Raw if even just the animated idol stances made it in?
it would have been crazy. It's insane to think about all the stuff that's left on like the cutting room floor and how much the games could have changed if that stuff was actually in there. It's yeah. Also, like
I
the faxes that
What?
were sent about like Batman Forever before it even had a title and stuff like that. It's like, God, that's nuts.
Have you seen those Spin Master Batman Forever retro figures?
Yes.
I saw a video from Pixel Dan, and it was really snarky. Like, who asked for these? And it's like, those are cool. Like, what is your issue?
Yeah, I did not like that movie. I hated it since I was a kid. I was like, why is Jim Carrey acting like the Joker? Like, what the hell is going on here? But like, I still want those McFarlane figures that they made. Like, it's cool. Like that shit is coming out now. It's so we obviously when we were kids we didn't have anything like the McFarlanes, right? So to have them in that
No.
scale and that price point now is just a really cool thing. And even if I'm not a big fan of that movie, it's like I still want them because it's still stuff that I you know basically grew up with. Because like even if that movie wasn't as popular as the previous ones, like it was all over the place. Still at the time, and like I said, I saw it in school. So yeah, I still want those. I'm finally getting the Chris Reeves Superman. Chris Reeve. Amazon's like, yeah, this is when you should get it, and I was like, oh, cool, finally.
I'm hoping that May 1st is not the actual in stock date for Maximum Spider Peter because GameStop has it for 420. Haha.
Haha.
Um, but I was told by one of my friends, like, when I was like, should I pre-order from Amazon or wait for Hasbro Pulse? And he was like, Hasbro Pulse sometimes, or Amazon sometimes gets stuff in way earlier. And I was like, duly noted. I will keep the Amazon pre-order then.
Not for us. They don't. Amazon Canada. They never get stuff early. It seems like we're always waiting. Unfortunately, that's why. Like, and also like I said it before, but like Walmart's dried up when it comes to Street Fighter. So GameStop is my go-to now. They don't have Sagat and Blanca up yet, but hopefully they'll be up soon. But like, they have all the other Street Fighter figures that I needed. So yeah, I still haven't opened any of mine. I don't know if I should or not.
I've opened a couple of them just to dick around and pose them, just to get a feel for like what the figures are actually like.
It's just in my case,
Um,
it's like where the hell do I put them at this point?
mm,
There's so little space.
yeah, that's understandable. I love those damn things. They're great.
They're really cool just to look at in the box because the boxes are really cool too. Like the classic arcade style and everything. It's neat.
I am looking forward to seeing how Storm does the Storm Arena packaging. I am kind of expecting it to be a window box like the regular Storm figures.
Mm,
Um, I don't have an issue with that, to
no.
be honest with you. Also,
Dude,
on note of Zombie doing Public Enemy tomorrow, there's a part of me that expects a Major Pod Facebook group teaser for the 6-inch figures.
yeah, I
Because
could see that.
I feel like whenever he drops something, he immediately teases the release date for the next thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not always. So, and we know that the 6-inch line allegedly is going up in March. He
Hmm.
has missed the pre-order estimate dates. I'm talking like pre-order launch dates, not even shipping dates. He has missed those a couple of times in the past, but we're gonna see. We're gonna see with those. I'd like to get the money down on those like as soon as possible. That'd be great.
Yeah. I could see it like you said, going up on the majors group. I kind of expected now. Actually, now that you've mentioned it.
I think he said something about having a an early bird pre-order on the major group tonight for the Public Enemy, but I don't know. He usually does those in the evening,
Mm.
honestly. Oh, also, I got the hardcover for Vagabond. Forgot to note this earlier. I blew through that in like 2 sessions. That is one of the best looking books I've ever read. It's also one of the best written books I've ever read.
I'm not familiar with it.
So it's about Miyamoto Musashi, which, if you've ever heard of the Samurai trilogy, based on the same book as those movies, about the same motherfucker. He
Okay.
goes off to war with his buddy Matahachi. They narrowly escape, but they're both wounded. They wind up in a home with two women that are like professional thieves. They stay there until they're healthy. A couple of guys come to ransack the fucking place. It differs from the Samurai trilogy in that Musashi fucks up everybody, and Matahachi just sticks behind, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna marry this woman." So when he goes back to this part's not different, but he goes back to the main village, and Matahachi's grandma's like, "Where the fuck's my son?" She keeps saying son instead of grandson. Well, they call her Granny, but she refers to Matahachi as her son. Either way, they're looking for him. They use Matahachi's ex fiance to find him. He gets like tied up in a tree. The monk won't let him down and just kill him. Eventually, they do go somewhere. He basically lets him go. And where the book leaves off, and I'm broad stroking the shit out of the story. By the book, um, Miyamoto challenges like one of the schools, and he proceeds to kill 5 people. He has like a very close encounter with death against like the final motherfucker. And then Matahachi may or may not have accidentally tried to, not even accidentally, he burns the fucking school down. And then
Oh.
he realizes that Miyamoto, or as he knew him before, Takezo, uh, might have been the guy in there fighting. And that's where the book ends. Like the oh shit, is that Takezo? Like, yeah, motherfucker, it is. Oh, also, it's implied, and by implied I mean kind of explicitly, that the woman that Matachi stays behind with might be a prostitute or a working girl, whatever phrase you want to use. And she may or may not also, like, part of the reason he wants to burn that school down is like the like 2 head guys from the school like to spend time with his wife.
Oh.
It's Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd want to burn the whole fucking school down too at that point. Um, I'm curious to see how things progress because I haven't seen the samurai movies in a couple of years, so I don't necessarily remember a lot about what happens with Matahachi in the second movie. But yeah, if you're a fan of the samurai movies or you've read the book Miyamoto, or you just want to see like the most unbelievably gorgeous artwork that's ever been put in a book ever, Vagabond is great. It's the broad stroke of the story. It's like enlightenment by way of the sword. He wants to become the strongest samurai. Basically, Ryu from Street Fighter. He wants to be the strongest fighter, so he's going to travel. And unlike Ryu, it's very clear that Miyamoto has zero problem just fucking killing everybody. It's a good book. Takahiko Inoue is that guy. But I've also heard Vagabond's been on hiatus for like 10 years. So the way these books work is they're 3-in-1s. So you get 3 volumes. And there's 12 volumes that have been released, but there's 37, or there's 12 Visbigs that have been released. So it's up to volume 36, but there's 37 volumes total. So I don't know if when they get to number 13, are they just going to do a 4-in-1 for that? They're just going to leave the last volume like untouched in this form factor. I don't know. I also read Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, and my official review of that is just play the video game. It's a lot less repetitive and annoying. Like, I really loved the last 4 issues and like the first 3. Everything in the middle just feels like they're doing the same shit every issue. But like the quality of the writers varies between, because they had 4 different fucking Spider-Man comics at that point. Why do you need 4? What the fuck? But the quality of the writing varies so greatly, and when they're all just basically saying the same shit,
Yeah,
Honestly, I feel like you could skip half the issues in that and still get the whole story.
that's sad.
Yeah, the video game is great though. That's an
That,
all-time comic book video game.
that Phantom game isn't great by the looks of it.
Yeah, that shit look like a Facebook game.
Yeah. For people who don't know, there's the Phantom comic. They're making a game of that, and I said it looked like the Spider-Man game if it was made. The Spider-Man Super Nintendo games if they're made in Flash, and you said it looked like a Facebook game, and yeah, it's yeah, I
It
don't
kind of
know.
looks like that Marvel Avengers game, if you remember that on Facebook like 10, 12 years
Mm,
ago.
yeah, I still want to
I
see
never
that.
played.
I'll go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I never played the reboot of that Marvel Avengers game where it was like a turn-based tactics game. I didn't even know that existed till a couple of years ago. I fucking wish I did.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that either. I want to see the Terminator 2D. What's it called? Terminator 2D No Fate, and see if that's anywhere close to like the Sega Saturn Terminator game because that shit ruled. Or Sega CD. Sega CD? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't think there was a Saturn Terminator game.
Yeah, I don't. We don't know what exactly this thing is. Like, it just popped up. Terminator 2, Terminator 2D, No Fate, and then I've seen it. It was on like some ratings board, and then I seen it listed somewhere else. Um, so it's definitely a thing, but who knows when it'll come out. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing that. And then there's the Terminator Survivors game that's coming out too, which I don't know about that one, but we'll see.
What I will say about this game is if it's been officially rated, we might we might hear about it soon ish.
Hopefully, I mean, you've talked about it before, but like all these IPs doing like 2D beat 'em ups and stuff seems tiring. Um, you've had like there was Turtles Origin and that was cool, but then there was like Power Rangers and GI Joe, and there was the Michael Myers slash Ash thing, and like just all these things, and they just seem like quickly made and stuff. But Terminator was something that actually had like a 2D game like that. As I said, Terminator on Sega CD. So if they do something in that vein, I think would be super super cool. If they just hit the right notes with it. I mean, the music in that game too was awesome. It was apparently by Tommy Tallarico, but these days who knows if he actually did it or not. Um,
Mm.
I know one of the songs was from a band that he was in, and like it was called Destinations Unknown, the song, and the instrumental version was in that game. That soundtrack was fucking awesome. If you haven't heard it, the Sega CD one, there's one song that's like got voice samples from Kyle Reese, which is really funny, but like the rest of the soundtrack's really good.
So, real quick, did you see any of AEW Grand Slam?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
Oh, cool. So, I have not watched it yet, but I did read the spoilers. A friend of mine on Blue Sky, whose name I am forgetting because I'm a horrible human being apparently today, went to the show and apparently had a very good time. I also think they might have been wearing a Global Force Wrestling shirt, which shout outs.
Nice.
I read the spoilers. I heard about what's being set up for Revolution, and then I saw like there's like a mini tournament to see who faces Omega for the international title at Revolution, but he's the fucking challenger for the title. So why isn't he the one that's got to jump through hoops to get the title match? Why did they
Wait,
fuck up Orange Cassidy? And he's no, okay. So there's a fucking match on Wednesday between Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong.
uh-huh.
The winner of that, the following week, I guess, faces Takeshita for the international title. The winner of that faces Kenny Omega at Revolution.
That's not right.
It doesn't make any fucking sense when you have Kenny Omega challenge Takeshita for the belt at the fucking pay per view. Like,
And
this whole thing makes way more sense if you just if you swap Takeshita and Kenny Omega in the order. We're like,
no,
yeah, you can
exactly.
have the title match if you beat the winner of Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong. And by the way, why is Orange Cassidy coming back after getting fucked up by the Death Riders and he's not going after the Death Riders? Why is he having a match with Roderick Strong?
Also, if the match is to see who faces Kenny Omega, if he's above the champion, then why is he even challenging for that title to begin with?
Well, because you gotta get a way to get the belt on him so they can do him and Okada for both belts at fucking All In, allegedly.
He should just be in the world title. He just should win the world title. Like, why not?
Here's my question to you. If magically on Wednesday they did Takeshita and Kenny Omega and it was for the world title with no explanation, do you think anybody would give a shit? That there's no explanation why the world title's not on Moxley anymore?
Probably not. No, because it would be a good match, and people would be like, "Yeah, whatever."
I think people would be like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
Like, I watched that AEW with the Hurt Syndicate, and my immediate thought was like, all right, Wednesday, they take out the Death Riders. Just give them all the belts and then fucking let them do the shit. Because I hate to beat the drum about the Death Riders sucking, but like, I read about Grand Slam, and like the only thing on that show that I do not want to fucking see is the Death Riders tag. Because
I,
I don't give a fuck anymore.
I will say that match, like it did feel weak, but like G Wade had his working boots on in that match. He was like, felt like he was zooming all over the place. There was one spot where he grabbed the candlestick and he's like hitting Claudio with it on both sides, like going back and forth. And the candlestick looks like it's losing pieces as he's hitting with it. Then he twirls it, and I was like, hell yeah, that was cool as hell. And then Moxley beat him up.
And he gets the fall over Jay White, does he not?
No, he does not. He chokes out Cope.
Okay, so I read the way it read when I read the spoilers was that he chokes out the guy he's defending the title against.
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of the title match then?
I don't know. I imagine something will happen next week, where like Cope takes him out or some shit, and then it'll be like, oh,
Oh
we're
god.
even going into the title match or something.
Well,
Yeah,
I saw the clip of the fucking shit they did on Wednesday where like Jay White and fucking Adam Copeland, Edge, whatever the fuck, they like tried to lock Marina Shafir in a room, but then they ran away because the baby faces are silly little guys that are up to hijinks. And then Moxley like immediately opened the door. So like, why couldn't Marina get the fuck out on her own? It was like 5 seconds later too. So why the fuck did he stop him?
there's like that skit where Carlito and Chris Masters put like a forklift in front of the door and Kane couldn't get out. Oh no, it was Big Show. And Big Show's like, it was the audio was played on FOW, like Brian Vinny a lot, where Big Show's like, Kane, I'm coming, Kane, and then the like the door opens or something, and Big Show's like, how did you get in? And Kane's like, oh, he's in the room. He's like, there was a door on the other side, and he goes, oh, they're not very smart, are they? No. That's what it reminded me of. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense, but I thought the show last night was fun. Um,
Everything
obviously,
that happened on the show seems neat, other than that one match.
yeah, you had like 10. They really fucked over those fans on those tickets, though. Like, holy shit! Like, there was people who were saying that when it was originally a stadium show, they bought like really expensive seats that were close to the front, and then all of a sudden, when it changes venue, it's like they're not getting any sort of refund. It's the same price, but they're like in the middle of the crowd now and shit like that. It's
That's
not really fucked up.
bullshit.
Yeah, I will say that's probably why apparently Tony Khan came out and he was booed until he
Oh
announced
yeah.
that he was coming back. Until he announced that they're coming back to Australia next year, then he was cheered. But yeah, I wouldn't blame them for being upset. But they were a great crowd, though.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of days after All Out, when I went to Collision, Tony got booed when he came
Mhm.
out. There was no like he tried kissing our asses, like, oh, Ohio is the best wrestling fans in the world. Because he does that. I don't know why.
He
And
shouts a lot when he comes out.
yeah, he doesn't sound so much like Hank Hill most of the time though.
Dang it,
He
boy!
does though. He does. It's fucked up. But like he's like kissing our ass, and like some people in the section kind of turned, but like the rest of the people were just like, fuck you.
Yeah, maybe he shouldn't
Because
make so
like,
many appearances.
well, also this was like a couple of days after All Out. People bought tickets to see the people that were on the graphic because this was talked about in my section by people other than me and my cousin. Like, fucking, where's Hangman? Where's Danielson? Where's Moxley? Where is Willow? Where are any of these people? And again, I've beat this drum. I don't care. like putting cards subject to change, the talent lineup's not a card. You can put lineup subject to change, but also when you put Willow Nightingale on a collision graphic knowing full well she's going to be at the fucking Tokyo Dome, that's false advertising. That's not lineup subject to change. You knew where she was going to be and you still fucking advertised her.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And the thing from the Observer, like, you know, they know WWE is going to counter program their pay-per-views, so they're like not announcing anything until like right before. That's totally not going to fucking backfire in terms of like, you know, getting ticket sales or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your guy doing your touring itinerary shouldn't be like a former WWE guy. Maybe your director of TV shouldn't be a guy that was being groomed to replace Kevin Dunn. Maybe you could go get some people that are like WCW hired fucking a concert promoter and their shit took off. Go find a Zane Breslov. Go find a fucking Ed Cohen for Christ's sake. If you have to have a former like WWE type, go find whoever did their fucking tour itinerary when shit was hot. Don't bring on a guy that worked for the Fed and then went to fucking professional bull riding. Like what the fuck?
Honestly, when it comes to the AEW and like all the shit, you know, it's just like I'm tired of it. It's like I just watch the TV show and it's like I enjoy it or I don't. You know what I mean? Because there's so many things that are a problem with our company that it's just like done to death, and I'm just like, yeah.
It's hard to ignore the stuff. Like I want to buy their action figures. They take fucking forever to come out, and there's major QC issues.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to play their video game. It came out, and it was horribly mismanaged and just completely bungled. I like going to their shows. They managed to wait till the last fucking minute to put tickets up and then falsely advertise everybody that's going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And then again, they didn't announce anything new for that Dayton show the night before. And then the day of, they're like, oh, by the way, Yuka Sakizaki's wrestling Serena Deeb. Well, I know what that is. Yuka's going to show up, win one match, and then lose the fucking title match. And guess what happened?
Yeah.
And then they did it again recently. And that company would be way better off if there were people that had a fucking clue. Instead, it's like, you know, I'm glad Swerve got his cousin a job. Apparently, there's a lot of people that aren't fond of him.
You know what's really funny is that Momo Watanabe was on the show last night. She was sitting in the crowd. It was funny because she was like off by it, like she was in the middle of like rows, so she had like a whole section by herself. And during the Mercedes Moné and Holly Cameron match, they would go to a wide shot, and if you looked on the left side, you could just see Momo Watanabe just sitting there by herself. And it's so funny because they flew her all the way to Australia to just sit in the crowd, and then she has to go back to Japan, I guess. Yeah, they're doing the thing like. It's so funny because like she won the women's whatever at Wrestle Dynasty. Dude, they didn't show that match. They didn't show anything from it. So it's like if I'm somebody that's just watching AEW TV, I'm like, she won the what now? Like you didn't really even bring that up. So yeah, but
I do want to be positive about something that happened in pro wrestling this week, though. And I think you know where I'm going with this. I hope you know where I'm going with this. Fucking Hiroki Goto did it.
Yeah.
Almost. You know what's fucking crazy? It took him more years to win that title than the age I was the first time he challenged for it. I was 16 when he challenged for the title the first time in November of 2007. I remember thinking he was going to win it too. Because he came back and he had that match with Tenzan. And it's like, oh, they're fucking strapping the rocket to him. He loses to Tanahashi. That's an incredible match, by the way. It should be on New Japan World. It was at one point. November 07. That match is one of the best matches of Tanahashi's career. Also the same for Goto. And then, like, right after that, it's announced he's wrestling, you know, the Great Muta at the Tokyo Dome. And I didn't expect he was going to win that because even at 16, I wasn't fucking stupid. But I was like, all right, they're committed to pushing him. And then he wins the G1. And it's like, all right, he's going to do it. And then he wrestles Muto for the IWGP title. And guess what fucking happens? He lost. And then he wrestles Tanahashi the next year. Guess what happens? He lost. That's like 2 straight times he should have won the belt. Then he wrestles Nakamura in April of 2010. And I'd argue he probably should have won that just because I don't like Nakamura, but it actually does make way more story sense for Makabe to be the one that beats Nakamura at Wrestling Dontaku. So, okay, fuck that. But then there was June 2011, Dominion. And I remember being so excited because it was the obvious fucking time to do the title change. Guess what happened? Hiroki Goto lost. And then and that's another time he should have won. May 2012, I don't think he should have beat Okada because Goto was already, I think he was Intercontinental Champion at the time. So, like, that's whatever. Okay. And by the way, the narrative that Nakamura was the one that legitimized that belt, kiss my ass. Goto's the one that legitimized that title. The Nakamura Goto match in late 2012 is what fucking made that title. Not Nakamura versus fucking Davey Boy Smith Jr. goddamn Invasion Attack. Grow the fuck up. And then after that, February 2014 title challenge. It should have been Goto. Straight up. And then there was the February 2016 title change. It should have been Goto. And, when he won the Rumble or the Rambo, because we're just going to not pronounce things the way they should be. We're going to translate it and then go, ha, 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 that's really funny instead of, taking it for what the actual literal fucking meaning is supposed to be. I was like, okay, if they don't do it here, like, it's never going to happen. And then I forgot that match was happening this week. So I fucking check a group DM that I'm in on Tuesday morning or whatever morning it was. And I was like, well, I'll be goddamned. I signed up to New Japan World with the idea of I'm going to watch that on my lunch break. And one of my friends was like, yeah, that match was crazy. The fucking Goto's entrance was nuts. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to watch this in the break room where there's going to be people fucking playing TikToks at max volume because God forbid we respect other people's boundaries. So I waited till I got home and I watched that match. And also knowing it only went 20 minutes, like a modern IWGP title match that doesn't go fucking 30 minutes minimum. Oh boy. I watched that match and listen, man, there's not a lot in pro wrestling that gets any sort of like, reasonably positive emotional reaction out of me. I was even if I wouldn't have known if I would have not known the result and watched that match, my reaction would have been even greater. But like, I watched that match and like Goto's selling is perfect. Zack Sabre Jr. is just a smarmy little bastard that you want to see Goto just maul, and then he does at the end, and he fucking wins. The crowd goes goddamn crazy. They're going crazy for him during his entrance. And it's like, you could have had this years ago. There's been this like weird narrative that Goto was never over. Go back and watch every single time he ever challenged for the title. Go back and watch every time he ever wrestled the heavyweight champion in a G1, especially that Okada match in Osaka in 2015. They were going apeshit for Goto. The narrative that he was never good enough or over enough is complete fucking bullshit. He should have been the guy, not Tanahashi. Goto is a better worker than Tanahashi. The only thing Tanahashi's got is he's a fucking pretty boy. And that, I guess, translates, except it doesn't. Because Tanahashi might have steadied the title a little bit, but the shit don't fucking rise till fucking the coin drops and Okada comes back and Bushiroad pays a whole bunch of marketing money. And that's not me saying like, oh, Okada only got over because they put the marketing machine behind him. He was going to get over anyway. Fucking, it's Kazuchika Okada. But he is the guy that saved that company, not fucking Tanahashi. Well, Kidani's the guy that saved that company, not Tanahashi. But I digress. Hiroki Goto's the champion. He's going to try to get a match out of the rotting husk of Hiroshi Tanahashi on March 6th. It was implied that Yuji Nagata would be the next guy up, but I guess the next defense after Tanahashi is going to be at Sakura Genesis. And I would need to go look because I know they've announced the New Japan Cup field. And I don't remember if I saw Nagata in that. And one of my friends had the idea, just do Nagata and Goto at the New Japan Cup final. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Let's get some fucking like New Japan Pro Wrestling shit up in this fucking. Yeah, so Yuji Nagata, not in the New Japan Cup. So looking at the field, there are a few matches I think would be interesting. Yota Tsuji would be cool. Uemura would be cool. Ren Narita would be cool. Oleg would be really cool. I'm in the minority here, but Great Okan would be cool. Ishii and Goto never have bad matches. I know that Naito is kind of his knees are a little hurting, but Naito and Goto have never had a bad match together that I've seen at least. Taichi versus Goto would be a really funny match because there was that point a few years ago when people thought Taichi sucked. When he's at worst, Taichi has never been anything worse than like at his worst, he's a good wrestler. At his best, he is one of the best guys they have under contract. Do you remember in like 2018 when I think it was him and Ishii at Budokan the last night of the G1, or it might have been 2019. It was one of the years they did the last couple of nights at Budokan instead of Sumo Hall, and I want to say he wrestled Ishii. In one of those G1s, he has a match with Ishii, and it's like fucking incredible. And I saw people on Twitter at the time like, I didn't think Taichi had this in him, and it's like, well, one, he's wrestling Ishii, but second, where have you been? Taichi's been that motherfucker forever.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that match.
Do you remember the match with him and Tenyu from like the early 2000s where Tenyu chucked a fucking table at his head?
No.
That is some dog ass shit right there, man. He fucking chucked the table right at his dome.
Jesus.
Oh my! When I saw it, I just remembered that the Thugnificent clip from the Boondocks where he talks about watching somebody get jumped. He goes, "Damn, what did he do to make them that mad?" It's like, what the fuck did he do to Tenyu, bro?
I haven't seen the Goto match yet. I did see the ending, and yeah, it was really cool to see the fan reaction and everything. And he brought his kids in the ring at the end, right? Yeah, well overdue, but the fact that he won it now just made it all that special, really. So yeah, it was really cool. And I saw a lot of people saying like, "Is New Japan back? Is New Japan back?" Yada yada.
No, they're not.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we'd have to see where things go, but
I don't care about Dave's star ratings, but when I saw that like he rated that Gabe Kidd Yoda Tsuji match higher, I was like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's funny too because he's talked about in the past like how much atmosphere plays into like the star ratings as well, and it's like, I mean, the people are all over the main event from what I saw.
Yeah.
So yeah, you would thought that would have played a factor into it, but I don't know.
And also, Dave loves Zack Sabre Jr., so this is still more of that Dave doesn't think Goto's like a great worker thing. Because remember, for years he tried to downplay Tetsuya Naito, and it's really funny because I remember reading the Observer when he reviewed Naito and Okada at Korakuen Hall, the 40th anniversary show, and he said, "I've done a complete 180 on Okada," and it's like, the match where you did the 180 on Okada was a Naito match. Like, not to say he carried Okada because that implies that like Okada's not, but like that is very clearly Naito leading the match. Like, it's very obvious. That feels way more like a Naito match than an Okada match. And it was like after he had the match with Elgin in 2017, where I guess Elgin fucking was like, "Yeah, Naito's the man." That Dave's like, "I finally see why people think Naito's a genius," and it's like, you've been seeing it for years. You just attribute it to the other guy every fucking time.
Yeah. Star ratings, whatever. At the end of the day,
Who gives a shit? But I giggle when I see them now.
It's I just think it's funny when people put so much into a star ratings. Like, who cares? But yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that main event, and I don't know. Maybe I'll watch the whole show. I don't usually watch the whole shows of New Japan these days, but maybe I will. We'll see.
I will say this: I watched the Takeshita and Oleg Boltman match, or Boltman Oleg. They say I've seen it written both ways. I remember a decade ago when the Never title was like the designated tough guy ass kicking match.
Yeah.
And I do not think Takeshita should have the belt if we want it to be that. It was like, I think I talked about it the weekend of the Dome shows. Like, I watched Takeshita and Shingo, and that was the most like dispassionate, going through the motions, not laying anything in, like soft, just bullshit match. And I remember Takeshita and Oleg in the G1 having a really good match. So I watched the one from Tuesday, I think it was. Yeah, Tuesday, because it was 5 days ago. And it just felt like a whole bunch of, like, they do like a bunch of work on Oleg's arm, but then they do this spot at the end where they do like the Predator fucking like handshake, and they start forearming each other, but he's not selling his arm at all. And then they put a front neck lock on, and like Oleg gets out of it a couple of times, and then it's cinched in, but that's not the finish. It's just to set up the fucking spinning Falcon Arrow. And I was like, what are we doing, man? Like, independent, if that wasn't, even if it wasn't for the Never title, I would still be like, that match wasn't very good. But you add to it that it's with the belt, I associate like the Ishii and Makabe and Honma and Shibata and Goto. Like the tough guy ass kicking matches for that belt. Hell, 9 years ago in that building was like the second to last big Ishii Shibata match, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because they have that match and then they don't wrestle again until the 2017 New Japan Cup. And like that one's not even necessarily the like, 4-time speed ass kicking match, but they get to the clobbering. And that match never did until like they did the elbow spot, but it's like, this is a 12-minute match. Why are you doing a war of attrition? This doesn't make any sense. It just felt like they. You ever see matches where they do the exhausted elbow exchange, and it's like you've done nothing to lead up to this. You didn't earn the right to be on the mat doing those.
Yeah, I know
like
what you mean. That period of the Never title when it was like the grumpy man CET ridden badass title was really cool, and yeah, it should have never really left that sort of branding, but maybe they ran out of grumpy man. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they tried it with like Shingo, right? But like, and big fan of Shingo Takagi. Was a huge fan of him in high school. When the Dragon Gate guys came over to ROH, everybody else went nuts over like Shima and fucking BB Hulk and Dragon Kid. Shingo was my guy because he kind of wrestled like a heavyweight. Not even kind of. He did wrestle like a heavyweight. But he's just like, he's not a tough guy clobbering dude. Like he hits the ropes, he does the lariat, he does the Lost Falconry or whatever that's called now. And sometimes it leads to really good matches, sometimes it leads to the Takeshita match.
Yeah.
But like, you know what, honestly, like Gabe Kidd really likes doing the I'm a tough guy forearm matches. Give him the fucking Never belt. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I just want to see somebody getting brain damage for the Never title. That's all I ask.
Jesus.
That's all I fucking ask, man. I want the gong to ring, and I want people to run to the middle, and I want to see fucking forearms and slaps and punches. Fuck this work rate. Fuck your psychology. Fuck your limb work. I want brain damage in those Never title matches, bro. I want to feel alive when I watch a Never title match.
I see people have discovered Shibata and Akiyama from Wrestle 1 again recently.
Yeah, it's always fun when like every few years somebody's like, oh, look at this match.
Yeah,
are they doing the
fucking kick him right in the head?
Are they doing the shit where they talk about how unprofessional Akiyama is for taking him into the crowd and throwing the chairs on him? Because I always love when that happens.
Oh no, people are just like, this match is fucking crazy, and then people were sharing like other matches from the card of like it was AJ Styles and Kasayoshi was on that as well, and there was like Giant Bernard against somebody, I can't remember who, but it sounded like a crazy match. And like
what my favorite Shibata match that surfaces every few years is? Shibata and Fujita from July 04.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh my god. That was the first singles match I saw either of those guys in. I saw it a few months after it happened. And god damn. Poor Shibata. There's like 2 kicks in that match that you could not have fucking paid me enough money to take, but he took them. God love him. But also, one thing people never talk about with Fujita is he didn't really put anybody over and all that. He was willing to get dropped on the top of his fucking head by whoever he was working with. Like, I think it's Tatsutoshi Goto in the 05 G1. And Fujita takes like 2, I think, like just direct neck drops against him. And of course, Fujita wins the match, but like, he doesn't have to do that shit. Yeah, he literally can just be like 5 minutes and I go over.
It's because he was fucking crazy.
And like in the match with Shibata, he takes a backdrop that's like, like the Dr. Death backdrop in VPW2. It's basically that. Like he is dumped right on his fucking shit. And so whenever I hear people say like, well, Kazuki Fujita stuck, like, pause. We can say like, yeah, it was bullshit. He never lost the title cleanly. It's bullshit. He didn't want to do jobs. It still happens to this day. He doesn't want to do fucking jobs.
Hmm.
But bad wrestler, there's like 2 matches with Yuji Nagata that are among the best matches of Nagata's career, and Nagata is an all-time great worker. And it's not like that's the only guy Fujita had good matches with. There's the Shibata match. The Chono final in the 05 G1 is like one of the most emotional matches you'll ever see. And it's fucking great. Everybody loved the hour draw almost with Go Shiozaki from 2020. He has a couple of singles matches in Noah that are a lot of fun. He has a match, is it him and Masato Tanaka from like the end of 2021? They go 30. It's got fucking right being good. Guess what though? It's fucking good. And so
That
like
doesn't
when I hear
surprise me.
Fujita sucks, I
Well, maybe
mean,
not.
there's a lot of people.
Maybe not 30 minutes, but if they went like 12, just beat the shit out of each other, I could imagine that would have been pretty great.
And like I remember when they announced he was in the what is the Noah round robin? The N1.
And one, yeah.
I remember people being kind of like, "Oh, Fujita," and I was like, "No, dude, this is what I want to see." And then like, I actually saw the fucking I actually saw um the matches, and it mostly I did not realize he defended the heavyweight title against Masato Tanaka. Remember when Fujita was GHC champion? That was a hoot.
Yeah. They had that. He was in that match with Omos recently, and people were like, "Oh shit, this is gonna be something." Um, that dude who gave up the JHC tag title so he could go back to WWE, and they haven't done anything with him since he's been back. Yeah, that was pointless.
My brain damage, was it not Tanaka the Sugira or Fujita had the 30-minute Broadway with?
I don't know.
I want to say it was Fujita and Tanaka on the it was like one of the Sugira shows.
It's funny how Fujita's career has worked out. As like an Oki disciple, and like going from New Japan, and then I mostly knew him from MMA, right? And then of course he was working like an Oki shit, like IGF and all that, and back to New Japan and stuff like that, and being in Noah for like a good while now. It's
Also, I do want to know it was Tanaka and Fujita 30 minutes. It was the Sugira-gun All Dogs and Korakuen 3.
mm, wasn't the M's Alliance.
No.
Tanaka wasn't. What a great stable.
And looking back at the 2022 N1, I have no memory of him squashing Anthony Green, but that's really funny.
That sounds cool.
I don't remember, like, I know I saw these matches, but I have zero recollection of him and Mochizuki or the fact that Tanaka actually beats him in the 2022 N1.
Hmm.
I do remember that Hideki Suzuki match like breaking my heart because I was like, there's no way this is bad. And then it was real fucking boring. Did you ever see the N1 final with Hideki and Kaito Kiyomiya?
No, I haven't been a big Noah guy since, oh god, a long time. So I've missed out on a lot of stuff.
I there's a point where they're in a hold and my computer buffered and I did not realize my shit was buffering for like 2 minutes because they'd been in that hold for so fucking long.
Nice.
um God, speaking of Noah, did you hear the fucking news? Kenta's back.
Yeah. And it's just funny to me. Like I know it's Noah, but when they're like, "Oh, he's back
No, it's
home," I'm
not.
like, it's not the same promotion. It's like, who's booking that now? Is it Nosawa?
It might still be Nosawa, yeah.
Which is like, yeah, like pro wrestling traditionalist Noah booking Nosawa, wrong guy. Like, yeah, it's so weird to me when they see stuff like that. He's home.
Well, he even said it, and it's like, brother, I hate to tell you, you
Yeah,
are not home. That is
there's
not the place you left in
there's nothing
2014.
there's nothing about it that's the same. Like, different logo, different style of, different looking ring. Different production, different wrestlers. There's not really that many people left from back then. Like who? Marufuji and who else?
Sugira, Go
Segura.
Shiozaki.
Yeah, but not that many, right? Like a lot of them are just gone, and it's like he's home. What? No, he's not. But I think it's cool that he's there. I mean, the fans still seem to love him, and he seems to be in a good spot as opposed to New Japan where he's doing that funny walk down the ramp at the Tokyo Dome, and it's like, what is your purpose here, dude?
And teaming with Chase Owens.
Yeah.
Do I wish because they really wanted to get him in the ring with Shibata.
Hmm.
I wish that could have happened.
Could have. Yeah, for sure.
Because like I remember that angle they did at the 2019 G1 final. And Dave called that one of the best angles, and it was either 20 or 30 years. And I agree because like that fucking place went nuts. They were so mad at Kenta. And it just they never followed up on it. And also that was the G1 where everybody's like Kenta is washed because he had the match with Ibushi in Dallas that was all right. It wasn't great. But then second night of the G1 he has that match with Tanahashi and he's just straight up smarmy punk Kenta again. And
Hmm.
it's like y'all were saying he's still that guy.
He
They just
still
didn't
live in
let
the
him be
state.
that guy. He lives in Florida, yeah.
Okay, just curious.
One of my friends ran into him at like Disney World or some shit.
Oh, did you talk to him?
Yeah, he took a picture with him, and he had like a fucking green Noah shirt on. My friend did, and I
Oh,
was
nice.
like, I wonder how many honkies walk up to Kenta wearing a Noah shirt in fucking Disney World.
Yeah,
That can't be
I
an everyday occurrence.
I only got to meet him for like a minute at a signing, but he seemed like a nice guy.
He is on a lot of days my pick for the best like post Liger junior heavyweight of all time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe Marufuji's actually better, but I don't want to give Marufuji the nod there. It's not because I think Marufuji is bad either. I just Kenta more aligns with what I think, um, what I want from pro wrestling more often than Marufuji does. I guess is the way I'm trying and failing to put that.
The best thing he did in WWE, I don't know if you saw him, but like the videos he did with the Iconics, where they were like,
No,
oh, they're hilarious. They're like on a plane and they're bugging him and like annoying him. He's sitting in front of them, and there's one where they go to his hotel room and see room service, and he opens the door and he's like, "Oh no." They're really good. Really funny if you can find those.
I kind of tuned out on his WWE run early. One of my friends used to go to all the tapings at Full Sail, and he was like that first segment with him where they bring Funaki out and he's doing the I love WWE thing. He's like, they have no plans to fucking do anything with him. It was obvious from the jump.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like they only let him do the go to sleep at that fucking house show Mania weekend 2015. Like I know he eventually does it, but it's like you cut away from it when you show it on TV. And then they release the match on like an NXT Blu-ray, and I'm like 90% sure they fucking cut on it there too.
Yeah, I
You
did.
hate Still so fucking much you won't show the originator of the move doing that move? Are you fucking shitting me?
Yeah, it's sad too because obviously he was a WWE fan, I think, right? He was at a lot of the house shows when they're in Japan. He,
I
he
mean,
upped and moved his whole full family to the States and has that run.
he also like there's one Budokan show, it might be the December 2010 one, where he does the Orton punt and the attitude adjustment, and it's like, oh yeah, he's been watching Raw. He's not making any bones about it. And then he gets to the Fed, and I don't remember if we ever get an elite of him. I think the one that they showed got canceled.
I think so.
So what the fuck was the point, man? What the fuck was
Sad,
the
dude.
point?
Very sad. Although, what that time he showed up in AEW, and the whole thing was worth it for him. You moving to the States because when he told Kenny to shut the fuck up that one time, that was great.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he challenges Moxley for the US title, and I'll give you fucking three guesses as to if Moxley did a job there.
Mm,
That pissed me off so much watching that. Like I subbed to New Japan World to and I stayed up to watch that episode of New Japan Strong. And then fucking I was just like, okay, yeah. Whatever.
Yeah,
Really, my dislike for John Moxley has been just years in the making. But like the last, we'll say like 18 months, it's just been like me going, "I told you, motherfuckers!
yeah.
Don't fucking doubt me on this. I told y'all, motherfuckers, this shit was gonna be ass, and it's ass. There's no way around it." Um, I wish Pro Wrestling Noah wasn't so obviously getting honey dicked by WWE, but maybe we can get a Go Shiozaki Elite figure in a couple of years.
Yeah,
Maybe we can get a Marufuji.
you just look at it and you're like, you've what has WWE done for anyone? Like, you hear people talking about these relationships. Oh, like WWE's working with people, right? They let Io work the Marigold show. They took Julia. Julia comes into WWE. They don't even reference Marigold. They reference that she was in Stardom, who's working with the competition in AEW. Well, not even the competition, really, but you know what I mean. Um, they work with Noah. They send Omos, and then they bring him back, forcing them to vacate the title. They take, is it Inamura?
Yeah.
Yeah, they take him, and he seems to be getting over, and who knows if he'll even fucking return. It's
Oh,
like,
speaking of Inamura, Striga on Twitter, the guy that like co-runs Cage Match.
yeah.
In 2019, they announced Inamura was going to be wrestling Fujita at a sumo hall show, right?
Mhm.
And this motherfucker goes on Twitter acting like, "Oh, Inamura's career is over." So it's been a recurring joke for 5 years now. Anytime Inamura does anything with, like, me and my friend Caro will be like, "Oh, that's crazy," because he retired in 2019.
Yeah.
Fujita just killed that guy's career, even though, like, take a look at, like, Noah in the past few years. They've booked all of the young guys like shit. It's almost like time's a flat circle. History repeats itself.
Yeah, poor Ozawa, his future might not be so bright after a little bit. We'll see.
His future is being in NXT, probably.
You see, there's a dude that I saw someone posting the clip of this rookie that debuted in Noah, and he was like doing all these high flying spots, and it looked really smooth. And he was like, he's wearing like red trunks and red boots, and I was like, just make this guy the new Hayabusa. He's like wearing the old Izaki rookie gear, and he seemed like to be pretty good for like early on. I was like, use this guy, but it seems like the new Hayabusa is going to be working for 0-1 after the Ryogoku show. So I guess whoever they're using is going to be a 0-1 talent, but I have no idea who that could be.
Can I also point out the irony of a new Hayabusa working for a company that has a lot of ties to local sponsors, which may or may not have been one of the key reasons the original FMW no longer exists.
Yeah, they kind of had like a Hayabusa ripoff, didn't they? Wasn't it like
Mm,
Tengu Kaiser or something like that? Wasn't it Kamikaze
maybe.
under a mask? I think so. Um,
Yeah, that sounds right.
it's funny because like I think I told you a few days ago, but I downloaded like all the FMW I could find, and then it was like I'm gonna download Shin FMW and Onita FMW,
Uh,
and like the IWA that's not IWA, but IWA something else, and it was so funny because like Onita's FMW has two Hayabusa ripoffs, and they're teaming together, and they're both like really skinny guys. And it's just like such a weird fucking thing. Like the former promoter of FMW and Hayabusa was the number one star after he originally left, and then now he's using two ripoffs. And that IWA card is one of them against the fake Onita. It's like the fuck is going on? And the show opens, the IWA one opens with a fake uh Tokyo Magnum, and he's like going around the crowd and getting Bill stuff into his trunks and stuff. And there's a guy in the main event called Terry the Funker. And it's just
Jesus
this,
Christ, man.
it's just this guy with like a cowboy hat and stuff. Oh, it's great. Japanese indies were the best. Absolute best.
I uh I just hope Goto has the title for a long time. I don't think he
Yeah.
will. but I hope he does.
By the way, do you know who like the director is of 01 or whatever it's called?
Nah.
It's Megumi Kudo.
Huh.
Yeah, she's the one that's putting on that Lucha festival or whatever. So
I just can't help fucking shake the feeling that there's some local sponsorship going on with that show.
well, maybe it's through her. I mean, she's got connections. I mean, she was in FMW. She's got connections. You know,
Yeah,
keep on running.
yeah. Man, shout outs to Japanese wrestling. All Japan was very good last year. I need to get back on watching All Japan. I still need to see that damn Yuma Anzai Hideki Suzuki match. Everybody that's seen it is like that would probably be one of your favorite matches from last year, and I'm like, well, someday,
Hmm.
somehow, I'm gonna watch that match, but not right now. I'm going to hell for that.
What?
As I'm going to hell, I made a Nickelback reference.
Oh God, I'm glad I didn't understand that reference.
Yeah, I'm glad to. I'm glad to. We need a new Japanese wrestling game, man.
Yes, we certainly do, and I have no idea.
Matsumoto's gonna have to go rogue and take over the fucking office or something, bro. That's the
He's
only
gonna
answer.
he's gonna have to leave and start like his own company. I'll fund him if I won the lottery. I would.
Dude, if I won the Powerball, I would find some way to get in contact with Matsumoto and be like, yeah, I just won like $400 million. You want to take like a quarter of that and make a fucking Fire Pro game, buddy? Let's
Yeah.
see what a Fire Pro with a 2K budget looks like real quick.
Isn't it sad when you understand that somebody really wants to do something that you're super interested in, they just can't. They're just not allowed to do it.
Yeah, I said it on Blue Sky, and I'll reiterate it here. He tried with the Fire Pro 35th anniversary campaign. That was supposed to be the thing that he could take to his superiors and be like, see, there's demand. Because as we all hopefully know at this point, Fire Pro World kind of didn't sell great.
Mm.
And I think, and again, I said this on Blue Sky, that game World got willed into existence by that petition and the overwhelming response from Western fans. That was a moment in time I don't think we can ever replicate because like
No.
New Japan was super hot because summer of 2016, and there's a lot of fans, and also you had New Japan wrestlers retweeting that, going, "Yeah, let's have a new Fire Pro," and I don't think we're never going to have that again. Like New Japan's not going to get hot like that again. AEW is never going to get hot enough to where like, I mean, Tony could easily hit up Spike Chunsoft and be like, "You guys want to make a game?" He's not
Yeah.
going to though,
True.
because
No.
it's been communicated to me that any game they make is going to be built on top of Fight Forever, which is a
Hmm.
decent base.
Yep.
But so like any hopes of like Fire Pro AEW, that's not happening. Ukes, I mean, they're doing the Double Dragon game, but I said it last time too. I've been told by multiple people they still want to do a wrestling game. They're not. Uh, they were very diplomatic in that VGC article, but I've been told like they don't necessarily want to work with AEW again unless they're going to get a big. They're going to get the fucking wallet opened up.
Mm. Makes sense.
And there's speculation, obviously going back 3 years, that Tanahashi wants to work with them again, and he's the figurehead president. Make no mistake about it; he's not involved heavily with any sort of business. It's like when fucking Sakaguchi was president, or like Fujinami was like acting president or whatever. They're just a figurehead. But I think the best chance we have of anything from Ukes or a Japanese wrestling game again is if New Japan and Ukes get together and we get a Tokan Retsen revival. But like, what does that even look like? How long does that take to release? What does the roster look like when it comes out? Because they have the mobile game where there's legends, and they've done all the like archival Blu-ray releases the last like 5-6 years. So, like, if we do get a Tokon Redstone revival, could we get Inoki? Could we get Hashimoto? Muto's probably off the table if he's that deep with WWE, but like, can we get Chono? Do y'all want to finally acknowledge Kensuke Sasaki again?
Do you
Like,
think? Let's just say that nothing happens with New Japan and Ukes. Do you think Ukes, if they really do want to make a wrestling game, that they would be motivated enough to just like make their own unlicensed?
well, they started making their own game, and
Right,
then the
right, right.
AEW thing got dropped into their lap. So, like, that's possible.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it would be a really funny thing just to stick it to the Fed is if they called it Exciting Pro Wrestling.
Hey, yeah, that would be interesting.
Like, if they dropped a game with unlicensed characters and called it Exciting Pro Wrestling, that would be a fucking hoot. And with the way everything is now, it likely wouldn't end up being region locked. So, you know, fuck it, let's go. Um, but like all of this stuff, it's all just conjecture. It's all years away
Mm,
from materializing. Now, there's a chance. There's always a chance of stupid things happening. Like the New Japan Anniversary show could have a trailer for a video game. I don't know why they do that instead of doing it at Wrestle Kingdom, but I don't expect that to happen. I'm just again, it's conjecture.
right.
But the way things are right now, the greater population aren't going to accept anything that doesn't have like feature parity with 2K. And are there enough people that are willing to buy a game that doesn't have feature parity with 2K, that doesn't have a licensed roster? Or if it has a licensed roster, it doesn't have like all the big name characters from the promotion that's hot right now. Like, is there a market? We're going to find out with UPW for sure.
Hmm.
But I do wonder, and this is no disrespect to Sam or anybody at Hyperfocus, but like, I do wonder if Ukes did something similar where it's like, we're going to do the old SmackDown style gameplay but unlicensed characters. I wonder what the reaction would be there. Because the Ukes name still has some cachet. Not to the 2K fans that have brain rot and blame Ukes for everything wrong with those games, because after a certain point, when a lot of those problems still exist post Ukes, you probably need to look at the publishing side of things. But, I digress. Uke still has cachet. If you say from the creators of the SmackDown games, that it would still mean something to a certain group, the same way that the Aki logo would mean something to a certain group of fans. And also, not to be that guy, there's not a single Aki game that sold as well as like any of the first like 7 SmackDown games.
It is.
Revenge might have sold comparable to SVR, but the others clear it. I'm like 90% sure of this.
It is very funny that AEW had Ukes who, in their own right, had made some really great games and a lot of wrestling games over the years, and their whole project was built around, well, this is gonna, we want this to be like the Aki games. It's a very strange thing. Um, I think if
Well, we
Ukes,
know why that is.
yeah, absolutely, but it's just funny, right? Because I mean, they're in some ways like their competitor, and um, again, just had their own history. It's like, I don't know. It's just very strange to present it that way. But yeah, if they were doing their own thing, I mean, specifically if they were like, these are the creators of SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, like, I think even to this day, that would get, you know, per, get a lot of interest. Because that game,
I think if they even said SVR06 as well as Here Comes the Pain,
yeah, I guess it's just that,
I just don't like that game as much as Here Comes the Pain.
no, and Here Comes the Pain is the one that, people still really talk about a lot. So, that could probably do something for them. Again, it's like, would people, as you said, would people be interested in an unlicensed roster? I think they would be smart enough, unlike AEW, where they would have a system, something like community creations, or even like the workshop on Steam or something like that if it was on PC. But yeah, I'd like to see it. I don't know. I don't know if it'll ever happen, even if they wanted to. Maybe the reason they're making these other games is to like build up funds to do a wrestling game. I don't know.
Well, that
It
was kind of what I was hoping for with Spike, right? You do
right,
the
yeah,
Dragon Ball game, it sells like 8 bajillion units, the royalties kick in, and all of a sudden you've got money.
yeah.
And that's probably, I mean, that game did sell very well,
I just
but
don't
I don't
think
know if, I don't think they're going to look at that and go, here, Matsumoto, here's a boatload, Go do what you want.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think they would have even had the thought process of like, oh, we've got this money, let's make a Fire Pro. It's just not on their radar at all.
I do
Um,
think if wrestling were, I mean, it's coming back. They sold out Osaka. Noah did like 1,300 people at Cork and Hall the other day. Like, it's not what it was 10 years ago in terms of popularity, but it does feel like the tide might be rising a little bit.
I
But
hope so.
again, the licensing fees, and we all know now, or at least I think a lot of us do, they didn't actually pay for the New Japan license. New Japan came to them and were like, "Hey, want to use our guys?" And they were like,
Mhm.
"Hey, yeah, yeah, we do."
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, if they get another scenario like that where it's like you get a sweetheart deal on some licenses, that would be great. But like all the people that were like bitching at Matsumoto about do King of Colosseum 3, that legitimately could potentially bankrupt Spike Chunsoft.
Yeah, I mean, people have no idea like the amount of funds would go into a project like that. I mean, like
They were
that game
paying as
had
much as 50,000 USD for some of those characters.
it had so many characters and so many different promotions. That was, I mean, it's a dream game, right? Like
Yeah,
the chances of getting something like that again, probably aren't that great.
no. And like I want to see another Japanese game. And the one game that I'm actually excited about on the horizon that we have like a vague release date for, because obviously I'm excited for Ultraviolet, but we don't
Mhm.
know when the hell that's coming out. I am excited for UPW. Like I said earlier, I just think the Aki thing's a little confusing, but I do. If you've got it, blast it all over that entire fucking game. It's I beat people over the fucking head with it.
Just have it
Like I
pop
said,
up on
I
the
would,
screen, like when wrestlers
yeah,
bleed in 2K,
like how there's like the red flash and like SmackDown, here comes the pain.
or like porn and Fight Club. Just have like a frame here or there.
Uh, I mean, like the ring, the arena. I have an Aki belt. Like we went over that earlier. Like
Yeah, yeah. I think those are all good
I would
ideas.
make, I would make a lot of use of that intellectual property.
Mm.
Um, but that'll probably actually before we go, Toy Fair is next week. And while there are apparently some companies that'll be skipping, it does seem like a lot of the heavy hitters will be there. So
Mhm.
I ask you before I give my list, what do you want to see at Toy Fair next week? Not what do you think you'll see, but like if you were fantasy booking your ideal Toy Fair from the companies you care about, what would they show?
I would really love to see, and I know it's on a freeze, but like if it was up to me, we would see some Mortal Kombat stuff.
Mm,
Um, Jada or Storm Collectibles at that price point, the Storm Collectibles Arena, that would be like my number one thing right now with classic designs. I would absolutely love to see those. Um, I'm trying to think what else. The funny thing that just popped up in the top of my head was like Punch Out for some reason. Like if somebody did like Punch Out figures, I think
I
those
mean,
would be
Jax
really.
has that Nintendo license.
I don't know why that even popped into my head. It's not like Punch Out is a thing that I think about often, but it just came in as like that would be cool. I also I'd like to see some new Mattel stuff. Some of the independent wrestling toy companies, even if they're not going to be there, which I wouldn't expect them to be there, make announcements around that period. If we can see like the
Ooh.
yeah,
Do you think Zombie pays for a booth at Toy Fair to try to get the 6-inch figures into
I could see that.
stores?
I could see that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's an interesting possibility. I didn't consider until you said that. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go on. I just that popped into my head.
No. It's that. Yeah, something I could see. Hopefully some stuff from DC. With the Superman movie coming out in 5 months, maybe they'll show off the Superman figure. For the DC multiverse line, that would be cool. Maybe some. I don't know what else they would show from like previous movies and stuff. I know they've got the Batman Begins, Batman and Scarecrow coming out. I'm not sure what else they could really do, but I'm sure they could pull something out of their hat and figure something out. Like if they can get a Nicholson Joker, that would be amazing. But I know Nicholson is a hard IP. IP is a funny word, but like it's hard to get his
Likeness.
likeness. Yeah. Um, other than that, Um, I that company that makes the Bloodsport or even somebody else, I'd like to see some more big licenses, like older movies. Um, I would like to see like a new Rocky line or something. There was that
Mm.
LGN Rocky Balboa that was going to be made, and we haven't heard anything about that. Um, Something like
And
that.
McFarlane had the movie Maniac statues too, but yeah, there hasn't been articulated Rocky figures since NECA, right?
Yeah, exactly. So something new from there would be cool. Bu- 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 Obviously more Street Fighter stuff. With those like Bloodsport figures, I keep thinking about stuff like Street Fighter the movie. Obviously that movie wasn't received very well, but it's got sort of like that cult following of like it's bad but it's good, and people watch it and have fun with it. Like if
That
they could
movie is
make
wonderful.
if they could make licensed like a Van Damme Guile, that would be fucking amazing, and I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's just the stuff that's popped in my head. Anything new Terminator stuff would be cool if there's anything they could do there. Um, I'd like to see them do like I don't think they made like a NECA made like an Arnold from Hunting Grounds where they had him like doing audio and his model was in the game. So if that was a really cool idea, and if they did like an older Arnold in like a Hunting Grounds line, that would be cool, I think. Um, but yeah, that's just a few ideas off the top of my head.
So for me, top of the list now, honestly, is I would fantasy book Zombie showing series 1 and 2 of the 6-inch figures.
Yeah.
Um, I'm hoping tomorrow we get an announcement of well, Toy Fair's not next week. It's the next time we record. That's 2 weeks from now, but still,
Hmm.
I'm hoping tomorrow we get some sort of clarification on the March pre-orders. Obviously, I want Hasbro to really show out with Marvel Legends, at least show the Maximum Hulk. I think that would be a pretty easy way to get people excited for that line because you can make the argument that like, well, Spider-Man's not worth it, but like show people a Hulk that's completely new tooling with all the effects. And oh, by the way, it's cheaper than Mezco. I think people might get a little excited. I would get excited for that. Please
I was
show me Maximum Hulk.
just thinking that regards to Marvel Legends, maybe they'll show off like the movie Fantastic Four could be a thing that they preview.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Any X-Men figures, honestly. Um, I know that basically they said the next 97 wave will coincide with, future seasons of the show. So getting Beast or Cable or Forge or Morph or Jubilee, that looks like something we're just going to have to get in like the regular like Marvel Legends waves.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice if we saw some of those. I'd like to see another mini comic wave because I think, and I replied to Dan Yun with this on Blue Sky because he had asked who you want to see in future waves. I want X-Men #1 from '91 with either a plussed up reissue of Retro Card Beast or just a straight reissue of Retro Card Beast. That figure is very expensive on the secondary market, and it came out at a point where I wasn't necessarily buying a lot of Marvel Legends stuff, as
Hmm.
opposed to now where I'm not dipping my toe in. I'm basically just cannonballing into the fucking deep end. Um, so I'd really love to have that. I'd love to see a Daredevil with one of the Born Again covers.
Yeah.
Just a Daredevil in general, because it feels like it's been a while since they've done like an old comic Daredevil. Um, for the Marvel Legends line though, like the big thing is like put the cards on the table with the Maximum figures. If Spider-Man's shipping in April or May, when does Hulk come out? When do I get to pre-order? That kind of thing. Mattel WWE, I think we don't get anything substantial because Mania Access is like what 6 weeks after that.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, I know the rumor is we're going to get another crowdfund around Mania Access, so let's hope they don't shit the bed with this one. I'd really like to see updated prototypes for Jada Toy Street Fighter. Obviously, Claw, Vega, Balrog, whatever you want to call them, did not go up with Sagat and Blanca. So that says to me they might be fine tuning some things, or maybe he's just not done and they don't have like a date that he's going to be on the water yet. I'd like to see any deluxe recolorings or player two figures. Obviously, there's the purple pants Fei Long, which is the only deluxe figure that has not been released yet. Any player twos, like Sagat in the red and green, would be cool. I also said on, I think it was Jada's Instagram, the purple and white or the yellow and black. Those are like the two I default to when I play Super Turbo for
Mhm.
Sagat. Um, Obviously, I don't think they'll do any player two colors for like the unreleased guys so far, like Zangief or Boxer or Honda. Though I do have some ideas for what I'd like from Honda, like the piss yellow towel with the red face paint would be fun. The green face paint with the orange towel would be really cool. But we got to get those figures out first. Obviously, player two for Blanca, I'd love the yellow skin, blue hair Blanca because that's a really cool look.
Yeah.
Um, I'm with you on Mortal Kombat. I really hope they're not waiting until October to start doing like new licensing deals on those because that would be fucking moronic. Because having toys out around the time of the movie, even if they're not based on the movie, will still sell the toys.
Yeah, they've also started promoting the movie now. I don't know if you saw that Johnny Cage
I
posted that.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't one of the actors post like a just a generic dragon with the two that's like the teaser, like the actual logo for the movie?
Oh yeah, that the producer Todd Garner, I think his name is, posted that. Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw it shared by Joe Taslim Sub Zero
Okay. Yeah.
on Instagram.
They were using that on the set, and it seems like they're keeping it for the official logo as well.
I'm curious as to when the hell we're finally going to see the trailer for that.
I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it. I can't help but like after reading like the spoilers, being excited for some of the stuff.
I
Um,
need to read them again because I've forgotten a lot of them since the last time we talked about them.
I do agree that I think Carl Urban's probably too old for. I mean, he is too old for Johnny Cage, but I think of like the behind the scenes as to why that happened because like they probably think like, oh, we've got a bigger budget now, we can get a star name. Also, he's probably like, oh, I'm from Australia. This is filmed in Australia. I can go home for weeks. You know, so that's what I think about. But I'm interested in seeing Katana, hearing about her role in the movie and seeing how she is portrayed in the trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I I might make the effort to actually go see this at the theater, provided my local theater carries it. If not, I got to go to Lima, which whatever. It's a fucking 40-minute car ride. It is what it is. Um, the casting is all very interesting. Again, if you want to like link me to the spoilers so I can read them again, just so I have like an idea, that'd be neat. Um,
There's if you go on Reddit and you just search like Mortal Kombat test screening, um, it should be like the most recent results. There's a few different ones, right? And some of the people that were there have been commenting recently with the poster coming out and stuff and being like, "Oh, I like the movie and this and that."
I just
Um,
hope Cole Young dies in like the first 45 seconds.
well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but
Um,
I'll say your wish may come true.
I
Not
found a
45,
thing that's
not
from
45
4 months
seconds,
ago
but
for from Daniel RPK.
yeah, he's like a scooper that's sometimes right and wrong, and um,
Yeah,
yeah, there's actual reports like the I think it's like maybe the second or third result from people that were there's like posts that are like there was a test screening, and if you read down, it'll be people saying like I was there and this is what happened and this and that, this and that. Um, again, there's stuff like I I'm not too sure on, but I think overall it sounds pretty fun. There was someone that said like one of the funniest things about watching the movie was like after the whoever was on top, like whoever was at the front of the screen, like presenting it, when the lights were going down, they saw Ed Boon running to his seat. Uh, so and he's in the movie too, apparently. I don't know what his role is, but he was on set. Um, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. It sounds like they're gonna just straight up use the song from the original movie. The way they've been talking about it instead of like a remix or anything. So actually, that's not even from the movie. It's originally from the games because the soundtrack that was released in conjunction with the games, and then it was later added to the movies. So that's a misconception. Fun fact.
I just hope it. I see it's got a $70 million budget. That's a little worrying, but
70?
we'll see how this turns out. Yeah, like 68 to 70 is what I just saw.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, but it's also like, how well did the first movie do? I don't.
I don't know, but I mean, it was during COVID as well, but they seem to.
Yeah, it's only 15 million more than the or 13 million more than the original movie had. By original, I mean the 2021. It did
Apparently, they're
84 million, and that's during COVID, like you said. So
yeah. Apparently, they're making that Clayface movie for 40 million.
shout outs to Shitboy.
Yeah, the substance, right? That's totally where the stories come from.
Yeah, Clayface, who's been around since the 40s, is a ripoff of something that came out in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very dumb, man. Comic book fans are very dumb. Everybody's dumb. Fandom is dumb.
It's
We're all
true.
dumb.
Everyone's an idiot.
Yeah, like, well, except me because my takes are correct.
That's what everyone
I'm
thinks
kidding.
too.
Yeah, yeah. If you go into like, dude, this week proved it. Like, toy collectors are just fucking dumbasses, but they're all like convinced they're geniuses, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, buddy, y'all are dumb as hell. Y'all
Well,
make me when I'm fucking half awake after chugging three monsters look like a fucking genius.
yeah. I
I
mean, for
appreciate
me,
it.
I've accepted the fact that that I'm an idiot, but I'll always find people stupider than me, which makes me feel pretty good.
It's comforting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where we go from here, honestly. This is probably a good place to seal here.
Oh, I just wanted to say one more thing. So,
Yo,
yesterday was the passing of Gran Hamada.
great
Um,
wrestler.
yeah, I'm not too familiar with his earlier career in like Mexico, but obviously I saw the first time I saw him was ECW Barely Legal, and he wasn't flashy like the other guys. Like you see, like obviously Sasuke and his costume and Yakashiji and Kai and Tai and their blue outfits and stuff. And he was just a dude in black trunks, black knee pads, and white boots. But I mean, he held his own with everyone else in that match. Like I remember his uh tornado DDT was like one of the cooler moves in that match. And watching him in some stuff in Michinoku Pro, and then he was later in he was in All Japan as Mini Love Machine when they had the Love Machine stable. And yeah, he was just always someone that was fun to watch, like even in his later career. And obviously, his daughter Ayako Hamada had a bit of a career in TNA, and she was doing very well for herself in like the early 2000s, and yeah, it was sad to hear that. I guess he had been sick for a while, right?
Yeah, I checked Blue Sky and I saw people posting like some Grand Hamada stuff, and I was like, the fuck? And then like I scrolled a little bit more and I saw that he had passed, and I was like, damn, because I've seen a lot of stuff with him, and he's one of the most reliable. Like, you see Grand Hamada's name in a match, even if you're not super high on the other guys in it, it's probably at worst, it's gonna be good because he's involved.
Yeah,
Like, unbelievably reliable. Ayako was great as well. It's a shame she's had the weird issues that she's had, um, because she was fantastic, unbelievably talented.
I believe she's like training people in Mexico now. She showed
I
up at I think they had a guy a reunion, and
I remember that. Yeah,
yeah,
I there are so many people that I wish had like their careers turn out differently than they did. She's one of them.
yeah, for sure.
She should be getting the bag in AEW right now, honestly.
She should
Either as a
be.
producer or as like a worker. Like, all due respect to Emi Sakura, like her spot in that company should just be Ayako Hamada's, or they could just both be there. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, even if she's not wrestling, she should definitely be involved with major promotion, backstage or something. And yeah, sad, sucks.
Yeah. And that'll probably do us for this week. We'll be back in 2 weeks because I work next Sunday. So hopefully, hopefully there's no breaking news. Otherwise, I might feel compelled, since it's a 2 week gap, to reconvene and put something out. But hopefully there's no like serious breaking news. Hopefully nobody does anything wacky, like announce that they've acquired the rights to the Kingdom Coliseum source code, like those guys from 5 Star Wrestling told PWX Dave they did. Um, oh my god, him finally mentioning that it was them, that tickled me, because I real quick before we go, I had kind of banged on them for saying they had the most moves of any wrestling game, because I was like KOC 2, and clearly that made an impression on them.
Yeah,
Clearly it did.
sounds like it.
Uh, yeah, but that'll do us. We'll be back in 2 weeks. So until then, stay safe, don't be an asshole, and fuck neo Nazis. Don't actually fuck them, but like fuck them.